Hari Om. A very good day to all of you. I begin with humble prostrations at the lotus feet of Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji and our respected Pujya Swami Brahmanandaji. Hari Om and Pranams. We shall start with the invocation and the chanting of the Guru Stotram. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Akhandamandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurinmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sthavaram Jangamam Vyaptam Yatkinchit Sacharacharam Tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam vyapiyat sarvam trailokyam sacharacharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva Tvameva bandhushcha sakha tvameva Tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Hari Om. On behalf of the entire Balihat team, I extend a very warm welcome to all who have joined us today to be a part of the interactive workshop finale. This has been conducted for our senior Balihat children. It has been an exciting past few weeks for all of us as we have embarked on this new venture of having this online workshop for the children. Pranams to all the children, parents, grandparents, friends, co-sadhaks. All of you are our guests and participants as we embark on this new mode of learning. Pranams to all our acharyas as well. I shall now hand it over to Aishwarya Didi to give us more details on the workshop and how we have progressed to this finale. Hari Om.
Hari Om. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of Param Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of Pujya Swami Brahmanandaji. Hari Om to all the participants and our audience for the day. This academic year came with a totally new set of challenges. Children are getting used to the online classes and Balvihars also went online in this situation. the many programs that we organize during the year, which children look forward to very, very enthusiastically, could not be done. So, with the blessings of Pujya Swami Brahmanandji, we conceived with this idea of an online workshop for the senior Bal Vihar children. That's children who are in grades 8 to 10. The topic chosen for the workshop were real life situations, and kids had to come up with how to handle them in their life. They also had to identify characters from the Puranas or the Itihasas who faced a similar situation, and with the way they handled it, whether they actually became successful or not. That's like a great learning for them, right? A few quotes of our Pujya Gurudev were given as guiding quotes for the children to proceed in their discussion. So, we had invited participants from all the Bal Vihars in Bangalore, and we had 150 children register for this workshop, and they were divided into 15 groups and assigned a mentor who was a senior Bal Vihar Sevak. Now, there were 5 topics chosen, which means each topic was given to 3 teams, and with the mentor's direction and guidance, the group discussed, debated, and came up with their understanding and on how the situation can be handled. So this was converted into a video presentation by the respective teams. Now, on the next part of the workshop, these videos were watched by the teams each other, right? And they came up with questions for the other teams. And what we are going to watch today is the grand finale, where the children, 2 representatives from each group, is going to interact live, answering questions that were posed to them by the other teams. Sri Shiva Padmanabhan, our Sevak, Senior Bal Vihar Sevak from Malleshwaram, will be moderating this discussion. And the intent of this live session is to strengthen the learnings they have gained from the workshop. It's going to deepen their understanding and lay a more strong foundation. This entire journey has been a very interesting one, a very enriching one for all of us, the organizers, the mentors, and the children. The learnings that the children have gained from this workshop are going to be with them for their life and will tune how they move forward in their lives. Blessed are those children who were able to take part in this workshop. Let us now sit back and watch the live interaction. So, over to Shiva and the children for this live interaction.
And then we will get started with the workshop itself. All of you close your eyes. Sahana vavatu Sahanau bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Welcome to this live streaming session of the finale of the Senior Bal Vihar workshop that was conducted by Chinmaya Mission Bangalore. Humble pranams to Pujya Gurudev, Swami Brahmanandji, for all the inspiration and all the guidance that we have received for this one-of-a-kind workshop. We are going through very, very strange times, and we thought that this workshop would be a wonderful way for us all to connect in a virtual environment, but still keep the learnings, still keep the wisdom flowing at this point. Now, for this workshop, we came up with various situations that the children had to analyze. And today's finale session, what we are going to do is we are going to review all the findings of the children. How are we going to do it? Through a mixture of Q&A, question answer sessions, as well as discussion. So through Q&A and discussion, we want to reinforce the principles that would help us deal with life. Now, very simple question. What is life? In one way, everything about life is about relationship management. See, if you think about it, there are three kinds of relationships. Relationship with external situations or external objects, relationship with people and living beings, and of course, relationship with our own senses and our own mind, right? The first two, that is with the external situations and with people, are what are called Bahiranga, that is facing outward. And the last one, that is the third one, which is your own mind, is Antaranga, facing inwards. And if you remember, we just said three Shantis, no? And you all know this, many of you may know this. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The first Shanti is for all, peace from all these external situations. The second Shanti is for all people, peace from all people and living beings. And third, last but not least, the most important, in fact, the last Shanti is for peace within your own mind. It's for the senses and your mind. In fact, what we will realize as we go through this workshop, all of these, right, whether it's external situations or it's with people, all of them have a significant component of the mind and intellect involved at that point. And, if you think about it, Mahatma Gandhi, in fact, said, when disappointment stares me in the face and all alone, and I see not one ray of light, I go back to the Bhagavad Gita. So in fact, when I wanted to introduce this, I thought, we have three relationships, right? Let me go and try to find a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that deals with all these relationships. And I found in chapter 12, verse number 4. Okay, I'm just going to read it. And then we will use this as a guiding principle for this workshop. Okay, first, this is the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse 4. Sanniyamendriya gramam sarvatra samabuddhayah te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rataha. Beautiful verse. And if you think about it, all three relationships are dealt with in just that concise verse. The first one is sarvatra samabuddhayah. Sarvatra means under all situations, everywhere, in every situation, samabuddhayah. We try to maintain equanimity. We try to maintain peacefulness of the intellect, right? Peace of the intellect. That is for the external situations. Second one is sarvabhuta hite rataha. When we deal with the second relationship with this, which is people and living beings, sarvabhuta hite rataha. We pray for their welfare. We love all and we pray for the welfare of all. So this is guidance for the second relationship. And last but not least, the third one, he says, the Bhagavad Gita says, Sanniyamendriya gramam, complete control, discipline of our senses and our mind. So how do we deal with relationships with the external world? Samabuddhayaha. How do we deal with relationships with people? Sarvabhuta hite rataha. And how do we deal with relationship with our own mind? Sanniyamendriya gramam, self-control. Now, the point of this workshop is, how do we make this happen? It is wonderful to say, oh, Bhagavad Gita said this, read it and move on, right? But how do we get to equanimity? How do we get to loving people? And what do we do about self-control? That will be the focus of this workshop. So as we go through these various topics, right? Some of them are going to be with, these topics have been organized this way. Some of them are with respect to situations and objects. Some of them are with respect to people and living beings. And last but not least, some of these situations that are basically about control of your mind at this point. And very importantly, that particular verse says, you attain the Lord when you do this properly, right? When you have a good relationship with all three entities, external situations, people, and your mind, te prapnuvanti mameva, they attain me only. So we will try to deal with that aspect also. What does Lord Krishna mean when he says te prapnuvanti mameva? Okay, so we will deal with this as we go through this workshop. But for now, what I want to do is we are going to deal with 5 topics, right? The first topic and the second topic. The first topic was with respect to COVID. The second topic was with respect to not getting a role in a play. These two, as you'll agree with me, these two are basically dealing mostly with external situations, right? So let us take these 2 topics. The third one, I'm going to actually do the one where you had you got criticized. You got criticized by your parents, by your peer group, by your teachers for not doing a project. You worked on the project, but it didn't work out well. So you got criticized. How do you deal with that criticism? Obviously, that situation is dealing with people. And the one with jealousy, where you're jealous about your friends, where you're unable to concentrate, they of course have a people component to them, but mostly I want to concentrate on the mind part, controlling of the mind, keeping your mind where your hands are. Those kinds of aspects will be discussed in those 2 topics. So I hope the mapping of the topics to the various relationships is clear at this point. With this introduction, let me pull out the first topic. But before that, right, I really want to, I have watched all these videos. Wonderful. The amount of creativity, the thought process that you have put in, and most importantly, just the aspect of working together. You see, there are many lessons we can take away from a workshop of this sort. But the first and most important lesson is the ability to get together, the ability to come up with ideas. Sometimes there are differences in perceptions, there are differences in ideas, but simply the ability to debate, to compromise, and finally put up a cohesive presentation, right? See, with 10 people, everyone had to pull their weight. I think I guess 6, 7, 8, in some cases 10, all of them pulled, right? You remember the story. There was a Raja, he seems one day he made a declaration. I keep this huge basket, huge vessel. I want everybody in this city to come and drop a can of milk into that vessel because we need to feed everybody. So I want to see everybody coming and dropping a can of milk. Now what happened was, every citizen thought, oh, the other person is putting in milk, I can put in water, it's okay. So it seems everyone came and just put water instead of milk. And then they opened the can, they didn't find any milk, they found only water. So when you are in a big group, right, everyone has to realize, oh, it's my responsibility. It's my job to do this. I should not just say, oh, he will do it, she will do it, and just shirk your responsibility. So it's wonderful. The first lesson itself that I saw in those videos was that nobody shirked their responsibility. Everybody pulled their weight wonderfully. Okay. So with that background, let's now get into the COVID situation. What is the topic? Obviously, we're all aware we are living through very strange times. We have a pandemic, right? This virus is just ruining us. It's really making a lot life changes in us, significant life changes, right? One of them is simply the fact that we have to work from home. We have to stay at home, right? So as you active students are involved, you cannot meet your friends, and worse, you cannot go to school and, have fun. You are having to do everything online at this point. And you do not like online classes, unfortunately. That was the situation that was posed to you. And the tasks were very simple. Identify the principles that you could use to feel better about this, and identify characters from the Itihasas or the Puranas who went through a similar situation, and how was she or he able to deal with it at this point, right? And as a guiding principle, right? See, the whole idea behind this workshop was we wanted you, and you have done it wonderfully, to come up with your original thoughts. What can be done, what are the situations, etc. But as guiding principles, Gurudev's quotes were given. In this case, remember, even this will pass away. Smile at life and life smiles at you. Frown at life and life frowns at you. In all adversities, at its depth, there is a treasure of spiritual blessings secretly hidden. So these three quotes were just given to you as a guidance. Now, let me call upon Ashtavakra group. In particular, Anand and Praveen, the representatives of Ashtavakra group, can you please come on, can you please make yourselves visible? Yeah. Hari Om Anand, Hari Om Praveen. At this point, I'd like you to give me a 1 minute summary. See, the idea is people who are watching this YouTube video are seeing the stream, have actually seen your video already. But just in case they have not, what we would recommend, of course, is go back and look at the video. But just in case they have not, we would like a synopsis. So please, I turn it over to you. 1 minute presentation or a summarization of your video at this point.
Hari Om, I'm Anand. The present coronavirus situation is making us unhappy, right? Even though we felt happy initially because
Hari Om Anand, you're on mute. We are not.
the present coronavirus situation is making us unhappy, right? Even though we felt happy initially because of the cancellation of our exams, we started feeling lonely because our online classes are boring as we miss out fun with our friends, outdoor games, and outings. When we go through our Itihasas and Puranas, we find Mother Sita had undergone a similar situation when she was captured by Ravana and stuck in Ashokavatika. Ravana showed her a fake head of Rama to make her believe that Rama is dead. When she was startled, Trijata motivated her and advised her to have faith in Rama. Just like Sita, we should also have faith in the fact that even this situation will pass away over time.
Even in Mahabharata, when the Pandavas were in their Agnatavasa, they had to deal with their emotions and feelings as we are doing now. We can make use of this pandemic situation in a fruitful way by learning new skills and spending time with our families. Worrying and complaining about the pandemic is not going to help us. Rather, use this to create opportunities. So, have faith and stay strong. Hari Om.
Very nice. Wonderfully done video and wonderfully done summary. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask, what has happened is other groups have seen your video, of course, and they have been very excited by your video, but they had some clarifications. Okay. So I'm going to ask a question from Dadichi group. It said, the question goes like this, and after that, any one of you can answer. Okay. Any one of you can answer. If one person starts answering, let him answer. And if the other person then has something else to add to it, they can feel free to do so. I have some 3 or 4 questions for both of you with respect to your presentation. The first question is from Dadichi group. In the Puranic cases, that is the Pandavas and the Sita case that you described, the characters, they had clues. They had clues to know that their troubles were ending very soon. However, in this present COVID situation, we don't have clues as to when this is ending. It seems to be going on forever and we just don't know when it's going to end. So, what keeps you going when we know that this corona is not ending in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, so the characters in the Puranas did not, and the Itihasas did not get clues so quickly. They waited and waited for a long time patiently to get the clues. So if we wait for more time, we would get the clues probably. So we have to go on like that.
We just have to keep waiting patiently is what you're saying. Okay.
I would also like to add something on it. What kept us going was hope. We had hope of the pandemic ending. So just have faith. That's all.
Yeah. Nice, very good answer. Right? We do have the vaccines that are being created, so we do have hope. You're absolutely right on that. Yeah. Now there was another question from Anasuya group, and they asked an interesting one. They say, how does a problem that impacts everyone, you see, this entire world is impacted by this, right? How does the problem that impact everyone make an individual situation better?
Well, individual. Okay, so tough question. So I don't know how to
Actually, if we work as a team, we can excel. So that's what happened. So if we work together in this world, all people, if we come together and make one decision to stay in our homes like that, anything, we may excel. We will excel.
In fact, because it's such a global problem and so many people are working on it, maybe making it easier to find the solution at this point, right? Praveen, you have something to add?
Well, nope, nothing here.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there was one statement that I saw your video, and there was one statement in there that I did not fully understand. So I thought maybe you can explain this if you can. You said, none of us are alone, no matter how trapped or scared or lonely we feel. What did you mean by that?
Well, Anand, you want to answer this if you want to?
Yeah, sure. So even though we are in such a situation that we are alone, we do not have any humans near us, there's always Gurudev here. He will always help us in every situation, and also God is also there everywhere. So he'll also help. So we are never alone.
And I would add something on this. I feel that the responsibility falls on every individual because we have to stay at home and we have to stay safe. So if we stay at home, the corona won't spread. So the responsibility will fall on each and every person.
In other words, for the society's good, each and every person also has
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, very true also, right? If we don't wear masks and we don't practice social distancing, we are impacting everyone else around us. That's very true. Very true. And this is, I think, a relatively simple question, but I did want to emphasize it because it's such a simple Gurudev quote, but so much wealth of meaning behind it. Remember, even this will pass away, right? That is Gurudev's quote, one of Gurudev's quotes. What does this mean to you at this point?
Well, we just have to go through this. We have to deal with this because we just have to remember that this will pass away. Nothing is permanent. The only permanence is that temporariness in the world. So yeah,
Change is always constant.
yeah,
The only constant thing is change. So we will be expecting change every minute.
yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. One last question, and for me, this was something that I thought of. See, a lot of the topic itself was very personal, right? It said you are impacted, so what would you do? But in this case, right, obviously the question was, how would you deal with with this pandemic on a personal front? But in my opinion, this pandemic actually has a lot of global lessons for mankind. If you think about mankind as a whole, right, it has so many lessons for mankind. So in your opinion, and again, it doesn't have to be a big list, but just a few things that you think man can learn, just man can learn from this pandemic.
Well, we can see that because of the lockdown, nobody is going out or something. So we can see that nature is how mankind has spoiled nature, because now there's less pollution and all because nobody is going out much. And Anand,
Yeah, also we have more time with the family, so we get to know about each other.
and we also have a lot of time to learn new things. That's another important point I would like to give.
Very good. I really like the positive and very upbeat message that all of you gave. In fact, I saw, you had so many examples also, you can do this, you can do that, you can learn. And there was a Rudram chanting session in the video. I would highly encourage anyone who has not seen the video to actually go watch it. But at this point, thank you so much, Ashtavakra group. You can go back, you can make yourselves, you can stop your video. I'll now request
Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Yeah. Agastya group. I'm seeing Aranya. Is Ritvi online? I'm not seeing Ritvi yet. Ritvi, let me look into the list of attendees. There you are. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Both of you. Yeah, I can see both of you. Okay. I'm going to request you, again, it's the same topic, the COVID situation. I'm going to request you, one of you or both of you, you can take turns if you want. You can summarize your presentation in about a minute or so that people who have not seen it will get an idea. Ritvi, we're not able to hear you. Your sound is not coming all right.
Yeah, now am I audible?
Yes, you're very audible now.
Yeah. So, Hari Om, I'm Ritvi, and me and Sharanya are the representatives of Group 6, which is Agastya. So, we as a team portray that when you do something that you like or when you enjoy something you do, you won't get bored or unhappy. So, we all came up with what we like. Like, some people like drawing, some people like skating or, dancing. So we took shots of all of them and we portrayed that if you do something that you enjoy, you won't be unhappy. So the story from the Itihasas we took was of Lord Rama when he was in a battle with Ravana in Lanka and he was like nearly giving up. That time sage Agastya came and taught him the Aditya Hridayam, which and the Aditya Hridayam is also the Sarva Satru Vinashaka Stotram. And it's a very powerful stotram. So, and that's how Rama got out of his troubles and difficulties. And in the same way, I feel that we have to have hope that even this pandemic will end. Hari Om.
Very nice, very nice, very nice summary. I particularly liked your, the hobby demonstration, right? Dancing videos and skating, drawing, painting, all of that was very nicely done. And then Aryan chanting the Aditya Hridayam, the first verse, that was also wonderful. That was also very nice. I'm hearing some noise in the background. Ritvi, maybe you can go on mute when I'm talking. Yeah, there's some noise. In fact, this Aditya Hridayam was the, the question also from group Dadichi was about this. It said, Aditya Hridayam helped Lord Rama get over his obstacles to defeat Ravana. But how do the activities you mentioned so many hobbies, skating, dancing, drawing, painting, etc. How do the activities you mentioned to make the pandemic exciting help in overcoming the pandemic? This is a question from group Dadichi. How does the activity help in overcoming the pandemic?
Can I answer this? Hari Om. So the activities that we mentioned was things that we all enjoy. So if you do something that you enjoy or you love, you will always be happy and you won't be bored or unhappy during the pandemic. And that will help you overcome and you'll automatically be positive and have faith. Because when you're unhappy, you won't be as positive as when you are happy. So when you do something you're enjoying, you will automatically be positive and happy. So that's how these activities were very personal to each individual, but it can be anything that you enjoy. Yeah, Ritvi, you can add anything.
Yeah, excellent.
No, it's fine, I'm done.
Okay, so the next question, this is from group Durvasa, and they have an interesting question. What they say is, what do we do when we just do not like doing something, right? But we have to do it. Like, for example, we hate attending online classes, but we simply have to attend them at this point. What do we do under these circumstances?
Okay, so can I take this question?
Sure.
Yeah, so what I feel is like we have to do what we like. Apart from online classes, it's not like online classes are like the whole day long or anything. So as soon as online classes get over, we can do something what we like. Like a few people have hobbies of going out and playing. But then if in case they're going out, they have to take safety measures of wearing the mask and all those. And they can do drawing or whatever they like. So that'll help them.
So in other words, mix the things you don't like with the things you like so that you
Yeah.
kind of manage them together, kind of. I see. Okay.
I want to add something. Yeah, I think most of it was covered, but whenever, if you do something that you don't like, and if you then do something that you like, you'll automatically like the thing that you're doing, that you're enjoying more than you. That feeling will overpower the emotion of boredom or hatred towards the thing that you don't like. For example, online classes or anything that you don't like doing.
Okay. Nice. Thank you, Sharanya. Now, this is a simple question. I just wanted a better understanding of Gurudev's quote. The second quote that Gurudev that we had provided, smile and the world smiles at you. What do you get from that? Like, what does that particular saying? I mean, of course, the second part is frown and the world frowns at you. What do we kind of get from that quote?
So I think what I would say for this is it's in your hands. So if you smile, you will make the people around you smile, and so your feeling is transmitted. So but if you are unhappy or you're frowning, the people around you will also get the same feeling, and they will also frown. But at the same time, when you're happy, everybody will be happy around you.
Yeah, and I wanted to add another point, which is if you're doing something you like, you will enjoy it more. But then if you keep complaining about something like this is so bad and everything, you'll never be able to progress in the work which you're doing. So that's also a part of what the quote says.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense, right? When you're unhappy, you kind of make the people around you also unhappy at that point, right? Very true. And to round this discussion out, I had again a global question for you, even though this topic was very, very local to you. And this is maybe a slightly difficult question. In your opinion, what can we do as mankind? What can we do to prevent such pandemics in future? Any thoughts on what could we do to avoid or prevent such pandemics in future?
Maybe learn to respect whatever we have, the people and all the resources that we have.
Yeah. I mean, one of my thoughts was basically we have gone against nature, right? I mean, the reason this pandemic has come about in a big way is because man has encroached more and more upon nature. So maybe some thoughts on how we could, take care of nature.
Yeah, I think respecting nature and being thankful and taking care of the nature would help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Sharanya. Thank you, Rutvi. Excellent answers and really nice video as well. So we will close the discussion for your group now.
Hari Om.
Yeah, thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. We will move on to group Vashishta. So let me request Sharanya and Aniket. Yeah, Hari Om. Like everyone else, again, this is the third group that dealt with COVID and really interesting perspectives presented by the previous two groups. We would like your perspective as well. So please give about a 1 minute summary of what your group particularly did.
Hari Om. I am Sharanya Rao, representing Group 11, that is Vashishta, along with Aniket. So the topic we had gotten was a very relatable one of COVID-19, the pandemic. And as students, how we're not finding online classes as effective as school, we're not able to meet our friends, no trips, etc., etc. So we started off by listing the pros and cons of this pandemic, and we realized that though the cons are present, there are many pros, like we get ample amount of time to work on ourselves, which was cut down by a lot of means when in the offline mode, because we had a lot of travel to do. But here, there's a lot of time for ourselves. So we learned that we can just apply some principles that we've all heard of, like picking up a hobby or indulging in something creative, so that we can make ourselves feel better. And we related this to the situation that Sita was in. So what we learned from Sita was that she had spent about a year in strange lands, and at least we're in the comfort of our homes to spend this pandemic with our families, with people we love. And what we learned, and we also related it to the Pandavas situation, and what we learned was how they made use of their time. Arjuna honed his skills, tried to gain the Pashupatastra. Yudhishthira was tested by Yamadeva. He and Draupadi spent time feeding rishis. And so, like that, we learned that hope is one thing that we can adopt to make ourselves feel better. And we just need to give ourselves time and hone our abilities.
Very nice, Sharanya. Excellent. I watched this and I was blown away by, of course, the video itself was wonderful, but I had one particular thing that I really enjoyed, and that was the poem. So who composed the poem? Can you just give me a brief one-liner or maybe just a couple of sentences on who wrote the poem? How did the poem happen in your video?
Okay, so we were persistent that we want to do something creative. So I had written the poem, and then we incorporated it into the PPT.
I see. Those of you who have not watched this, I tell you, it's worth it just for this, right? She talks about, back in February, everything was good. Suddenly in March, we started getting bound to walls and calls. The rhyming was also wonderful. I really
She composes in like 2 hours, and she just came up with like, I'll do a poem, you guys do this. And then like we had a call 2 hours later, and then she was like, I'm ready with the poem. And we were blown away by it.
That's really good. In fact, this also blew away many other groups. It says, we don't have any questions for Vashishta group, but we love the poem on COVID. That was one feedback from Sandeepani. Anasuya group also said, no questions, done really well. But of course, when you have 15 groups, you will have questions, right? So group Markandeya, they asked this question: how do we avoid getting bored without interacting with friends?
I'll take this. All right. Like we stated in our video, there are so many ways to entertain yourself, like picking up a hobby, honing your skills, reading a book, watching some TV shows or whatever, and spending time with yourself. Because in this pandemic, we have gotten ample amount of time to make ourselves better in certain areas we feel we're weak, and actually focus on ourselves rather than trying to please others or interact with others. So it's very easy to not get bored.
Yeah. Got it.
I would like to add something to this.
Sure.
So from the pandemic, what we learned the most is you don't need other people for your entertainment, your joy, etc. So as long as you are there and you're focusing on yourself, it's pretty much fine.
Nice. Excellent. Right. Now, group Gargi had a different take on it. It's an interesting question. It says, many great advantages and things that can be done have been mentioned in your presentation, but not much of how it benefits society. Can you mention some advantages or benefits for the economy? So they are interested in a broader perspective, particularly from a societal and economic point of view.
I'll take this. So firstly, honing your abilities will later on, when this pandemic gets over, will boost the economy, especially for the working class. They can do a lot. They can improvise their efficiency in work and much more. And second, the economy is being boosted because people are sitting at home. There's no travel time. There's very less travel time, only for like the people who need to go out and work. Only for them there's travel time, and the IT sector is blooming right now. And yeah, the broader perspective is that after this pandemic is over, the economy will boost because we're better than we were a couple of months ago, and that's how it will happen.
And a very important factor for the growth of any economy is its human resources. And this pandemic has given ample amount of time for people to work on human resources, which will in turn lead to the development of the economy.
That's very true. That's very true. A lot more training is going on, even in corporate sectors. That's very true at this point. Yes. Okay. So these are my questions. And again, just to kind of make sure that everybody is on the same page with respect to Gurudev's quotes, right? The third quote was, in all adversities, a treasure of spiritual blessings secretly hidden are revealed. What does this mean to you?
I'll take this. Yeah, so what this quote, there's a very similar quote even in Harry Potter, which is a very famous teen novel. So it's like, there are problems everywhere. You can't avoid problems. All you can do is, among those problems, you can find that one hope, one ray of hope that you can apply into your lives. Like in all adversities, if we search, if we're keen enough to search, then there's always a blessing in disguise. So if we're able to find that, then we can dodge any problems whatsoever.
Okay. And again, from a global, so for me, I see things from an individual point of view, but also I think it's good to think about the global perspective. And I know we have started doing a lot of things, already during this pandemic, right, to deal with it. My question is, name, any 2 or 3 things that you think we can continue to do, right? Something that we adopted during the pandemic times, but you think it's really worth it to kind of take it into the normal life also, even after the pandemic is over. Any thoughts?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So firstly, making a schedule. Personally, for me, when I had regular school going on, there was no fixed schedule. I would just do things when I had the time. But now I have a set schedule and I follow that most of the times. And yeah, so when this pandemic is over, I think that's one thing that we should follow, and that will lighten our day by a lot.
And I think one thing, it's not for our age group, but I think the IT sector is doing pretty well staying at home. So if that can be adopted, then there's so much of cut down of travel, transport, pollution, etc.
Good point. Yes. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Now you can actually let me try one thing. I'm just going to ask the other 2 groups that have already spoken. Can you also, make yourselves visible? I don't have any further questions for you, but I'd like to see you while I'm talking about the final summary, right? So hopefully this bandwidth is okay, but all of you can make, just make yourselves visible during this last kind of a final summary that I have for this topic before moving on to the next one, right? I've done a reasonable amount of reading on this, and one of the things that a quote by Henry Ford really struck me, he says, life is a series of experiences, each of which makes us bigger, even though sometimes it is hard to realize this, right? So the COVID situation is one such thing, right? We are going through it right now and we are moaning and groaning, I don't like this, I like that, stuff like that, right? But when we look back on it, I really think it would have made us bigger, and we should strive, like what you said, making a schedule, doing various things, right, for self-improvement so that we get there at this point, right? Now, the other interesting thing for me is there are a lot of global lessons in this, right? Man brought this pandemic on himself, right? He encroached on the animal space, on the animals' rights. So we have to learn a lot about respecting nature in this. The other thing is, it's very clear that man, after so many years of evolution, we always think we are on top of the food chain, right? We are superior, our intellect is superior, but it's very, very clear we are extremely dependent. Not only dependent, we can easily get terrorized by other organisms and beings at this point. And very clear that without man, nature does extremely well. We have seen pictures of, small flowers growing through the cement sidewalk at this point. And without nature, man can be destroyed very easily, right? So it really shows, in my opinion, where man should be. The other part which bothers us a lot, of course, is the have-nots. See, there's always haves and have-nots in society. And it's very clear that anytime something like this happens, the have-nots in the society are the ones who suffer most, right? Folks like us, we can, retire to our homes, we can retire to our laptops, we can do a lot of things online, our bank accounts are safe, everything is fine. But for the daily wage workers and things like that, right, it's been terrible at this point. So the reason I'm bringing out this global perspective is sometimes we get so caught up in our local perspectives, right? Oh, I'm not able to meet my friends. Oh, I can't do this. But if we just think a little beyond ourselves, right? We look at the global picture, we see how others are suffering so much, and we bring in compassion for them into our outlook. Automatically, our troubles fritter away. They are all trivial in that sense. You know, when roti, kapda, makan, when those three are big issues other people are facing, for us, oh, I could not meet my friends. Oh, I hate online classes. They become less at that point. So it's important to kind of bring a global perspective in my mind. The other thing is, see, what I'm also observing here is tough situations. This is a very tough situation, right? And it's bringing out the best in man, but it's also bringing out the worst in man, right? We are working together to find a vaccine, but at the same time, countries are pointing fingers. Wuhan virus, ye hua, wo hua, all kinds of, allegations flying back and forth at this point. And the other nice thing that I saw was, I got, at least for me, I understood better why we used to follow some of our customs before, right? Social distancing, for example, right? People were, especially our ancestors, were very careful, right? They would maintain distance. They would wash their clothes and put them away. There were lots of different practices that were being followed. And now, at least, and I used to, at least for me, it didn't register why it was so important. Today, we are in a much healthier place. But remember, even 50, 60, 70 years back when people were dying much earlier, there was typhoid, there was smallpox, all these things. They really had to be a lot more careful. And so a lot of those practices that came into being make a lot of sense to me at this point. And last but not least, I think every dark cloud has a silver lining. We are in the middle of the dark cloud, but it's clear talking to all of you, all 6 of you, you really have seen the silver linings at this point, right? So it's wonderful to get that perspective. So just from a personal, see, these were all from a global point of view. From a personal point of view, I think, for me, Pratipaksha Bhava that Shankara talks about a lot in the Bhajagovindam, it really rings home for me. And that idea of Pratipaksha Bhava, I'll explain it because this idea can be used for all the topics we are discussing today. It is introducing another thought in the process that makes you feel differently about the situation, right? So, for example, we are feeling depressed, right? That's the main contention of this topic. How do we fight depression? We bring in yet another thought, and that thought could be compassion. I already mentioned it, right? Compassion for the have-nots. Yet another thought could be gratitude. Rather than focusing on what I don't have, oh, I don't have friends, oh, I don't have regular classes, focus on what you have, right? We have so much. We have our health, we have our family, we have all our hobbies. We have focusing on what we have brings in a completely different perspective. It seems there's a very small episode anecdote I'll tell you. It seems a teacher posted a quiz one day in a small kids class, okay? So she said, what are the 7 wonders of the world? And all of them were thinking, oh, Taj Mahal, this, that, all kinds of wonders, right? And one kid went and wrote, it seems, the 7 wonders of the world are to be able to see, to hear, to smell, to feel, to taste, to laugh, and to love. You see, all those we still have today. So we have not lost that much. What we can focus on is what we have at this point, right? So again, I will not spend too much time on, what we can do. I think obviously you guys are all using this opportunity to keep busy, to learn new things. It keeps your focus on the positive, right? Of course, we have to take precautions. All the societal norms have to be followed. And finally, remember, we look back at history, right? The whole idea of putting the idea of Puranas, Itihasas was, let's look back at history. Let's look back and see what can we learn from there, right? And you guys gave wonderful examples, Sita, Pandava, so on and so forth. But we also have one which happened in 1918. The Spanish pandemic was very similar. And that lasted 3 years. So remember, this too shall pass. We are only in year 1. So really, if you think maybe we have at least 1 more year to go at this point. So keep this as, as an opportunity to learn. Be very, very upfront and buoyant about the whole thing, right?
Yeah, sir, as you mentioned thoughts, I have something to say. So always remember one thing, you are not your thoughts. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. True. Much bigger than your thoughts, actually. So
that will reduce your depression, actually. So that's another way to reduce it.
Thank you, Praveen. That was very nicely put. Okay. So at this point, we will call it a wrap on topic number 1, the COVID situation. Thank you, all of you. Wonderfully done. Wonderfully
Hari
done.
Om, sir.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
We will now move to topic 2. And let me just, for the benefit of everyone, let me just tell you what the topic was. You expected to get a major role in a play, right? You thought, oh, I'm a great actor. I've done this before. So you thought I'll get a good role. But when you went, you got a very minor role. Unfortunately, you got a very minor role, right? Obviously, you're disappointed. So the question here is, identify the principles that you can use to solve this, to kind of, be okay with this. And again, look back at our Puranas, Itihasas to identify a character who went through this at this point. And again, as a guiding principle, Gurudev's quotes, and wonderful quotes, right? These are, right there, can be really a guiding light for anything. The present work may be great or small. The important thing is to do it well. That was quote number 1. Quote number 2 was, if you cannot do great things yourself, remember that you may do small things in a great way, right? And the third one is, to do your job, even if the circumstances are not conducive, is our gift to him. And who is him? The sole Lord of all circumstances. So our gift is simply to do it, to do our job, no matter what the circumstances. So this is the background. Let me now request Sandeepani group to come online. I only see Sarayu and Sai Krishna. Wonderful. So can I request you to provide a summary of your presentation before I can ask questions, before we get to the discussion part?
Hari Om. I'm Saryu, and today my friend Sai Krishna and we are representing Team Sandipani, and we would like to tell you all about our topic, which is, you expected to get a major role, or rather the lead role in a school play, but then you instead got a minor role. So how would we deal with such a kind of a situation? So I think we all face this, we must have faced this kind of situation at some point in our lives. What we have showed in our PPT is 4 great personalities. One is whom we all know of really well, Sri Rama. Then we show Sachin Tendulkar, we show Jyoti Paswan, how now we all know her as the cycle girl, and we show Panna Dai. What we learn from these people is, it's not only about not getting a lead role in a school play or in a movie or in some kind of show, but it is also what God has given us, our roles for the future. We see in Sri Rama's example that before the day of his coronation, he was banished from his kingdom. He was going to be the king of Ayodhya, but then his father, King Dasharatha, banished him from the kingdom, and he had to spend a long time in exile. But we never think any less of him just because he went in the forest. We also see examples such as Jyoti Paswan and Panna Dai, whose roles were minor. They were not given such important statuses, or they were not very famous, but how they did small things in a great way, and now we all remember them as one of the bravest women and bravest girls in our history. So to conclude, I would like to remember Gurudev's quotes that our present work may be great or small, yet the important thing is to do it well, and we can always bring out the best in ourselves no matter who we are. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Sarayu. That was wonderfully done. Let me get into the questions directly, and I'm going to try to move it a little faster, okay? Because the time taken for group 1 was quite high, so let me move faster. How should a person getting a minor role handle his negative emotions? This is a question posed by group Vishwamitra. How does a person who gets a negative role handle his negative emotions?
Yeah, can I answer this?
Sure.
Yeah. The person, if he has got a minor role, he should not take it negatively. He should be happy that, yes, I have got this role and I'm able to participate in this act or a skit or PPT. Yeah, I've given my thoughts and I have expressed my feelings to the group. Yeah, and you can never think it in a negative way. What you always get, you have to think it in a positive way. Feel that it's a opportunity. It's a big opportunity given by any person. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
I would also like to add on something. It's an other quote from Harry Potter is happiness can be found in the darkest of times if one just remembers to turn on the light. So we should just look for the smallest things that can make us happy, that can make us see the best in ourselves to bring out our best.
Wonderful. Very nicely put. Harry Potter seems to be guiding a lot of you, which is very nice, actually. Okay, Group Gargi had an interesting question. Say, well, actually, they want this, this quote of Gurudev. He says, its question is to do your job, even if the circumstances are not conducive, is our gift to him who is the sole Lord of all circumstances. Can you explain this quote with reference to the topic? Group Gargi's question.
Should I answer this one? Yes, so we have taken two examples actually from this. One is of Pannadai and one is of Jyoti Paswan, whom we all know as the cycle girl. So the reason we took these examples is because they were not such big people, or they never had such big statuses in society. So they just did the duty, and it was what God had planned for them. God said that they were, although they were going to be born into ordinary families, but they were meant to do great things. So whatever we do in turn is always for God. No matter who we are, we always do it for him because he has only planned it for us.
Wonderful, wonderful. I had one, well, actually, it's a doubt, right? You talked a lot about sacrifice, right? Rama sacrificed the kingdom, Pannadai sacrificed her son. So, does this mean that we also sacrifice our role? Does it also mean that we do not think like, why did I not get the role? Why did I get a minor role? Do we kind of avoid that thinking completely? Or in other words, do we just sacrifice and move on? Is that what your is that what you guys are thinking at this point?
Actually, can I answer this question? Yeah. Sometimes when you have not got an opportunity for so many like months or days or years, and the other people are frequently there, the other person is getting the chance frequently. So you have to have the urge to like tell that even I also want. You can't just like sit silently in one corner and tell, yeah, this that I can't do this, I can't do that. You have to have the urge that yes, I want this role. And even if you have not got it, think there is always a second chance. Always there is a second chance to get the role. Always there is the life. Our life is continuous. We have chances. We have unlimited chances. So that's what I wanted to add.
Very, very optimistic and positive. Thank you, Sai. Last question. An ordinary person. See, I saw a beautiful quote in one of your slides. It said, "An ordinary person who does something extra becomes an extraordinary person." Right, and it really made sense to me. I just wanted for this school play, right, for this particular example, can you name some few additional things, like extraordinary things that you could do to make your contribution extraordinary?
Yeah, can I answer this question?
Sure.
So if we take in reference to a school play or any movie or whatever it is, how we can make ourselves extraordinary is probably try to do a lot of research on that line. So if we have gotten a very small topic, let's say maybe it could just be a one liner, but how we can beautify ourselves on that, how we can express, how we can make that particular thing more better. So we should look, there are always ways to make things perfect, because ultimately no one is always 100% perfect, but what we can do is strive for it. So we should always look for what we can do better. And yes, definitely an ordinary person doing something small will definitely become extraordinary.
Thank you so much, Sarayu. Wonderfully put. Wonderfully put. Yeah. So we will move on to Dadichi group now. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Let me call upon Hari Om. Let me call upon Namita and Abhinav to make visible. Namita. Okay. So can I again request you for a 1-minute summary of your presentation?
Yeah, so we actually split our video into two parts. So we began with an inspirational typography, and then we started off with a skit, and it was more about Mr. Bean, who's expecting a big role, and he's expecting dialogues and stuff, but he's given a very small role, and the assistants of the producer kind of mock him because he's actually having a small role, but he's expecting something big. But though he knew later on that he has a very small role and he wanted to give up, we bring in a teacher coming and his gurus coming who inspire him through mythological tales and stories that were taught to him early on when he was young, and inspire him that though he has got a small role, he should not give up and do whatever he has got to his level best. And then when he goes there and he does it to his best, and he's offered many more roles. Actually, to also give a fact, the actual true story, though the story we did was kind of it's not very true. We brought in our own stories and characters into it and modified. But the actual actor, Mr. Bean's, the actual actor's name is Rowan Atkinson. So the true story as well is somewhat similar to what we did. He actually people thought by his looks and stuff, they thought he is not going to be a good actor, and he was actually he studied in Harvard and did a degree in engineering like that, but he loved acting. So if time is there, if I can just say this, or
sorry.
No,
yeah, I can just wrap it up very quickly. Yeah, just complete your thought.
Yeah, so there was a school play which was running, and there was a big producer who came there, a comedy producer, and he gave each of the students a script to do. But since Rowan Atkinson could never read a script and do initially, so he just kept the paper next to him and just did facial expressions, and he's supposed to have blown the crowd away. I mean, they laughed like mad. So that was the actual true story, and that's when he became the actor he is today. So he was as well offered a small role, but did it to perfection.
I see. I didn't know this, and it's wonderful to have the background. So you actually took something real and made it into a skit at that point. In fact, this was a wonderful idea, right? Putting Bean into the whole mix and trying to bring your Bal Vihar teacher back into the whole mix. That was nicely done. But it did, bring a lot of questions also out. So group Ashtavakra asked the question, we didn't understand the way Mr. Bean made a small dialogue into a big opportunity. Can you explain that?
Actually, the way it goes is he's supposed to have got a dialogue, but he's not given a dialogue. It's only a monosyllable letter that he receives in the end. But he's expecting that he didn't open it yet, and he's expecting it's a big dialogue. But when he opens, he sees just a monosyllable letter. So, but what he does is instead of just pushing the actor, which he's supposed to do in the story, it's about him pushing Amitabh Bachchan. But he's supposed to just push the actor, but rather instead of since he felt it look odd just pushing the actor, so he asks for a newspaper and goggles which he wears, and then pretending to not see the actor and then push him. So that makes it look more real and understandable. And he did that really well that it impressed the producer and the assistants.
Right. In other words, he built a scenario around the whole thing, and it wasn't the syllable. The actual act is what kind of got him.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'd actually like to add something. So even he was given O, that was his dialogue, that's all. So you can say O in different ways. Like when you can say O, like when you're surprised, you can say O when you're in pain also. You can say O when you're shocked. So he kind of made a really special O out of it. And then with pain, surprise and shock, he said his dialogue, and that's how he acted really well.
Areva, very nice, very nice. Group Yajnavalkya asked this question. The example used is of a person who was not even an actor, and he was getting a chance to act alongside a great actor. I think you had Amitabh Bachchan in there. So any role that he got is a bonus. This is not a situation of a person getting lesser than what he deserved. Justify this.
So the way it goes is he's supposed to have learnt acting. So that is when the posthumous teacher who appears says, use whatever you have learnt in your drama classes. So he knows acting and he believes he's good at it, but he's not really done that with enough passion or things because he got distracted by other stuff. But he feels that he can do good at it. But when he goes and he gets whatever role he has got, he feels that's too small for his capability. So that is what puts him down.
Got it. Very nicely done. Okay. In your skit, right, you said, I think in the initial part, typographical part, you said self-motivated. That is turning small things into big opportunities. So group Valmiki is asking a very relevant question. They're asking how to be self-motivated.
Self-motivated, you just have to tell yourself that whatever you got is good. At least it's not that you're not getting anything. I mean, it's self-motivation can come sometimes through external factors, and it's mostly when you talk about self, it's more internal. So it is supposed to be built up inside. Maybe like just talk yourself out of it, or if you compare yourself with other people, you are in an advantage that at least you're getting something to do.
You should consider that whatever you've got is a really good opportunity to improve yourself in something you're not good at, and remember your teacher's words and like that, Gurudev's teachings, and motivate and encourage yourself to do it.
Okay.
Also, I just want to add on one more thing. That is when like opportunities come, it need not always come as a big thing or a small thing. It can come with its own way. I mean, and you can get a big role as your first opportunity as well. But its point is not about what kind of an opportunity you're getting. An opportunity itself should motivate you to do it to the best.
Got it. So, and for me, what was interesting was, if you think about it, so what you are saying is, any role you get, you should do it better. Try to do it to the best of your ability, right? That's the main point both of you are making. So if I think about myself, right, or yourself, let's take your example. Your role as a student, your role as a son or a daughter, your role as a friend. So maybe you can talk about a couple of ways you think you can do your role to the best you can, right? Because each of us are doing these roles at this stage. So what can we do to improve our roles, let's say in life itself at this point?
Maybe though we may have a small role, is to do something significant with that. For example, I might take example of Narendra Modi or Abdul Kalam. Though they might have had a very small role of selling tea or giving newspapers, though whatever role that they did something significant and something better, which brought them to what they were. So it's about doing something significant, that is maybe through helping society or it could be anything, but something significant that really matters to you. That way you push the role that you have as well.
Okay. You want to add anything, Namita?
Yes, sir. Like whatever you do, you should always leave a mark. Like make it a good opportunity and leave a mark. And
So in that sense, again, think about the different roles you are playing, right? I mean, you're a daughter to your parents, you're a student in your school, all of these. So each one of us, not just you both, everyone that's on this call and everyone watching this stream can think about what can we do on a personal level to play our roles better. How can we use Gurudev's quotes, right? Do great in anything that you do, try your best, right? And leave the rest. So that is something that we can incorporate. With this, we will close the discussion for this particular group. Thank you so much. Wonderfully done. I really like the Mr. Bean presentation.
Hari Om, sir. Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you. We'll now call upon Durvasa, Srilekha and Harshita. Can you make yourselves visible? Thank you. Srilekha and Harshita.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. I'm going to request you to start with a small summary of your presentation.
Okay. My name is Harshita, and I and Srilekha are the representatives for Group 12, which is Group Durvasa. Our group was given the topic of you expected to get the lead role in a school play, but instead you got a minor role. All of us must have experienced this at some point in our lives. So in our skit, we had 3 people who are auditioning for the main role of Birbal. The 2 people who did not get the main role had 2 very different reactions. The first person chose to pacify herself, saying that she had done her best and that she would try better next time. And the second auditionee, on the other hand, chose to voice her opinions. These 2 reactions, though they were very different, none of these 2 reactions are actually wrong. So the 2 mythological examples we gave for these reactions were of Sri Rama and Duryodhana. For the first reaction, the example is of Sri Rama, who, upon his mother's request, Kaikeyi's request, went into exile without objecting. For the second reaction, we have the example of Duryodhana, who was not able to get the throne despite him being the oldest son of King Dhritarashtra because of Yudhishthira, who was older than him. So he developed a grudge on the Pandavas and he started devising schemes to get rid of them. And finally, I would like to end with a quote of Gurudev's: "To do your job, even if the circumstance is not conducive, is our gift to him who is the sole lord of all circumstances." Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harshita. But this presentation of yours, very interesting. It brought a new thought into the process, because the previous 2 groups really focused upon, however small the role, do the best you can. But you brought in this idea of, if you do not like it, it's fine to question this, right? And it, in fact, brought out a lot of questions. Group Atri had the question. The second person who did not get the role, you said it was specified that she was confident of getting a major role and she went and asked for it, right? Please justify this.
Srilekha, do you want to answer this, or?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Yeah. So Group Atri is asking the question, in your play, one person said they will try to improve for the next year, but the other person said, oh, I was confident of getting this role. I want to go and ask I'm going to go and ask about it. Right? So Group Atri says, please justify this.
So he or she wanted to ask for a second chance because they have done best than others, have given the best performance than others. So they would ask for a second chance if they have done more better than others.
Okay. In fact, Group Dadichi has this very point. It says, you have mentioned that the student can react in 2 ways. One is accepting, and the other is to standing up and asking the teacher for another chance. However, the topic asks one to highlight how to accept their small roles. The conclusion is very contradictory to the topic. Please explain. This is Group Dadichi's point about this.
So when we were actually deliberating as to what ideas we could get from it, we thought of a situation in which the selections for the main role were actually unfair. So in such a situation like that, standing up for yourself and voicing out your opinions would be the best thing to do. But when you're asking for it, you have to ask for it in a very polite way. Like when you're arguing for it, and that becomes a wrong way of asking. So again, it depends on the mindset of the student. Some people choose to accept it, whereas some people choose to stand up for themselves. So that's why we said that none of these 2 are wrong. And that's
very nice. Thank you. Thank you. So at this point, can I request all the groups to make yourselves visible? Basically, in terms of the summary, right? This is a very, very topic that's very, very applicable to all of us, right? It happens not just at your level, right? We gave the example of a play, but just think about a corporate situation where someone is expecting a promotion and they do not get promoted, right? So they are, continue to remain in their role. And believe me, this is a very difficult issue to deal with, right? Because you really feel, oh, I should have been promoted. It's unfair, etc. at this point. So let's talk about some of the principles we can use based on Gurudev's quotes. The first thing is, all situations are meant for our growth. This is a principle we can think about. If I think about it, I was not promoted. I did not get a major role in a play. But if I have it in my mind, this is also for my growth, right? It helps me deal with the disappointment. It helps me why was I expecting this major role? Was it my ego that was expecting this? It was expecting a boost, and the ego now has been hurt. Is that the reason? It makes me analyze myself. So the first thought process is, every situation, I don't have control on the situation. It can be positive, it can be negative. I can get a major role, I can get a minor role. But that situation, whatever it is meant for my growth. In other words, God gives me what I need, not what I want. I want a major role. I want a promotion. These are my wants. What do I need? I don't know. God gives me what I need, not what I want. So these are some principles I can keep in mind as I go through life in this case. Right? Now I got this role. I will talk about the unfairness part. That's also equally important. We should discuss that. But let us say now, I want to accept this role and I want to do the best I can. Right? It's very, very important to use this idea of arpana. Arpana bhava is one of these principles in Karma Yoga, where you simply do your best. You're trying to do the best you can. See, in this play situation, for example, you can simply say, okay, I have a very minor role, but I'm going to learn how to handle the stage. I'm going to handle props. I'm going to figure out where to place the lighting, the sound. There are so many aspects of a play that I can learn about, which do not require me to have a major role. I may just be holding a plant on stage, or I may be saying, like Mr. Bean. Doesn't matter, right? I can still be involved in so many different aspects of the play. And believe me, if the teacher had many times, teachers may not even realize. You are going through, you have built up these castles. Oh, I did so well in this play last year. Oh, I'm so good. The teacher is unfair. She's partial. We go in with all these preconceptions. The teacher may be partial. I'm not ruling that out, yeah? But most likely, she is looking at it from a different perspective. She wants to give the chance to more people. Right? There may be many other. She may be a new teacher and may not be aware about you. There are so many other possibilities, and we tend to think in this only, unfair, partiality. We go down that track very easily because the mind can get pulled down very easily. It's very difficult for us to elevate our thought processes at that point. Right? So remembering this situation is also for my best. God gives me what I need, not what I want. Let me do the best I can under these circumstances. And there are so many things you can do in this play situation. See, finally, if you think about it, there are big roles and small roles. You take a temple, you go to a huge temple, the chief pujari of that temple, he's standing right next to God in that sanctum sanctorum. He's offering archana, flowers, camphor. But he may be thinking about that tatte, how much money is coming in that tatte. I'm not saying he is, he may be, right? Just as an example. Whereas a poor lowly sweeper who's standing outside, his role is very small. What is his thought? I should keep the surroundings as clean as possible so that all the devotees who come to this temple have a wonderful divine experience. That may be his attitude. And I think you will all agree that the pujari's attitude, again, is just an example, yeah? The pujari's attitude is not something we want to follow. The sweeper's attitude is what we want to follow. The idea here is the role is not as important as the attitude. The role of the pujari, of course, chief pujari in a big temple, very important. But that is not important when you consider the attitude with which he is going through life. Right? So idea here is we focus on the attitude, we focus on the principles that God gives us what we need, not what we want. Right? And like I said before, this idea about promotions, right? Especially in corporate world, it comes up a lot, right? So what we have to do is, and like you mentioned, the idea here is we don't go in thinking, oh, you're unfair. How dare you do this? I am so important. I have done so many things in this company. How dare you not give me the major role in this thing? You assume that the panel is fair, right? You ask for feedback. You analyze the data. You use it to improve yourself, right? You express gratitude. You take on more responsibility with a good attitude. And believe me, when you do this next year or the following situation, when there is a play situation or a promotion, you will get it. Like what you said, right? Definitely there'll be many more chances, and you showing your attitude will help you get there. If you start with the assumption that everyone is unfair, there's lots of politics, they just go bad to worse because your mind is pulling you down at that point. Now, I'm not ruling out that there is unfairness, okay? That's also possible. Let's not sugarcoat everything black and white and say, oh, that's not. There are shades of gray. If it is indeed unfair, you don't go in with that attitude. You go in with the attitude that I'm going to learn, I'm going to try to improve. But after analyzing, you really find that there is unfairness and it's not something that's going to get easily affected. People are really not good. Then you can either do one of two things. You can either stand up and complain about the injustice, or you say, I'm going to avoid this. I don't want this play. It's only pulling me down. I'm not going to get involved at that point. But you reach that point after doing all the analysis with the initial assumption that it's fair. It's fine, right? Regardless of the approach, whatever approach, right? You may question, you may not question, you may, try all of these. Maintain the equanimity of your mind. Be very clear on what you're doing at this point. Is it because of your ego is hurt that you're doing all of this? Or indeed you want to help the play, you want to help the school put up the best play at this point. If it's your ego driving the whole thing, it's not right. So you need to do a careful analysis of this whole situation to see what is driving you into this whole action at this point as well. So this particular topic is a very, I would say almost an adult topic, but you guys have dealt it beautifully with your all your different perspectives. I thought it was very, very nice to see. Thanks a lot at this point. We'll move on to topic number 3. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
So at this stage, we'll move on to parents criticizing your project performance. So let me again tell you what the project is about. You work on a project, you get a result. Unfortunately, it's not a great result. You get criticized a lot by your teachers and your parents. And like every other topic, the tasks were to identify the principles to feel better and identify something from the Puranas or the Itihasas, a character who went through a similar situation. And as always, we have the bright light of Gurudev's quotes to guide us, right? A successful man is one who lays a firm foundation with the bricks thrown at him. Silently hear everyone, accept what is good, reject and forget what is not. This is intelligent living. Again, a wonderful quote. And last one, some act till they meet obstacles, some act in spite of obstacles and conquer them, but some act not, fearing the possibility of obstacles that may arise en route. Again, so much clarity, so much depth in his quotes at this point. Let me now call on Yajnavalkya group, Atul and Hemang. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
There you are. So can we start with the summary of your presentation?
Yeah, sure. So basically in our group, for the topic that we have been given, we have taken an example of a school child whose name is Kushal, who has to submit a project, but obviously being a normal teenager, he gets distracted by various other things and eventually ends up finishing the project only on the day before the date of submission, and eventually does a very shabby job of it. And so because of this, he is criticized by his teacher, his mother, and his internal marks, he does not get them because of the shabby work that he has done. And then later, eventually, due to the internal marks, he overall does badly in the exam. And then a friend comes to him, he meets his friends who tell him about the life of Vishwamitra and how he can relate to that and how he can learn from that. And then we conclude by saying that every time we are criticized, we have two choices: to ignore the criticism and just continue believing that the criticism was baseless, or we can use the criticism constructively to improve.
Thank you so much, Atul. Wonderful. So let me move on to the questions directly. The first question was from group Atri, says, I agree that a person can get criticized when one has made a mistake. But what about getting criticized when it's not the person's mistake? Please explain. How do you handle being unfairly criticized?
It's true that sometimes in life we do get unfairly criticized, but because sometimes we are unfairly criticized, which is what we see in our conclusion, you should not believe that every time someone says anything, you're always unfairly criticized. You must first look for whether the criticism actually had a reason. If it is, you should learn from it. If not, if it is truly, absolutely, you're being unfairly criticized, then you should be able to ignore such people.
Nice. Good
Like
point.
what Gurudev said, silently hear everything, accept what is good and reject what is bad.
Yeah. You don't have to listen to everything, right? You only give as much power to the critic as you want to give them at that point. Very true. Very true. Group Vyasa says it has been shown that the result was disappointing because of not putting efforts. I think that's what you focused on, right? So what does it mean that if best efforts are put? So does it mean that if best efforts are put, the results will always be good? Sometimes, in spite of putting our best efforts, the results are not very good, right?
It's true that sometimes we do put our best efforts, but the result doesn't come out the way we want. But there's a another quote by Gurudev. He says, "Do your best and leave the rest." So we always must do the best we can and leave the rest. That is not in our hands. We just need to know that what we have done is the best we have done.
Very true. Very true. Hemang, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, there's the only thing we can do is our duty. And even in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, do just your duty and leave the fruits to the Lord.
True. So brickbats or bouquets, we don't care. We simply do our best and the results just whatever they turn out to be. But you know what? It's easy to say that, but it's very, very hard, right? When you are being criticized, you do respond. And many times it's negative response, very aggressive response. So my question to you is very simple. Can you identify some techniques that can be used for all of us? What techniques can we adopt to avoid responding negatively to criticism?
I think the main reason why we respond unfairly to criticism is because we haven't had time to think about it. So I think we can use various techniques such as meditation and others to calm our mind, that when we are criticized, we don't react immediately, but we think about it. And then later we react based on after thinking about all of it and decide whether it was unfair or just criticism.
That's wonderful.
We need to look at it from a critic's point of view. So we can again look at our own performance in a very critical way, as like assuming if we were seeing somebody else's performance. So that way we can see the critic's point of view. Why are they criticizing us? What was the thing that was missing in my performance? And that way we can then improve. It's like self-improvement. So before just acting rashly, we should look at our own performance first.
Words beyond your years in terms of the wisdom. Wonderful. Pausing, I think that's one of the important steps, right? Just take a chill pill, right? Kind of take a break. Do not immediately respond to the criticism. That's what you said. And then thinking through it, right? Seeing the opportunity to whether, was that making sense? When you look at it objectively, do I agree with what the critic is saying? Both points, very, very valid points. Thank you so much. We will move on to the next group. I'm going to speed it along a little bit. I think the time is going really long for this. So I'm going to keep the questions down to about 3 questions per group going forward. I call upon Gargi group, Sri Raksha and Samanvita. Hari Om. Can you please summarize your presentation?
So our group made a video on how to overcome the situation of not doing the project well and being criticized. We took the example of Prahalada and Ekalavya. Prahalada, though he was physically tortured, he survived through his total surrenderance to God. And Ekalavya, he did not have a proper teacher. He worked very hard and achieved whatever he wanted all by himself. So we also took some Gurudev's quote to explain the viewers in a better manner. So the outcome is that we gave them 2 situations. One is of which is devotion and the other is working hard and not giving up.
I see. Thank you so much, Raksha. That was nicely summarized. In fact, I really like the way you guys had put all the, you had found different slides on Prahalada, Narasimha, Hiranyakashipu, Ekalavya. Very nicely done. Excellent. And in fact, the feedback from some of the other groups was also very positive. He said, some group Sandipani tells you, we liked the way the presentation has been made. The story depiction was very good. And group Markandeya, no questions. But the PPT was very well done by the team. But of course, when you have 15 groups, Group Agastya asks you, please give us some real life situations. I think they saw that you were talking about Prahlada and Ekalavya, but they wanted some real life kind of situations as well. Any thoughts on that?
I'd like to take this question, if it's fine. So I read a book a while ago where there was a boy. This was just part of the book. There was a boy who worked in a circus, and his friend had gone sick. So he had to take care of his friend's pet. And after his friend again came back to normal, his friend was jealous that he was taking care of his pet so well, and told, you don't have to do it anymore, I can do it all by myself. But and he was very sad, the boy, so he went to his mother, and his mother told him, don't take this obstacle so seriously, use these obstacles as stepping stones, which is same as the first quote of Gurudev, take the bricks from others and build a firm foundation.
Yeah.
So after that, he again, just instead of getting angry at his friend, he acted normal, and after a while, his friend was also surprised and returned his favor.
I see. Nice. Thanks, Savanvita. This question is from Group Dadichi, and they had an interesting take on it. They say, in Prahlada's case, he faced criticism from his father, but his example shows more the power of surrender to the Lord than the situation given which, he's putting effort and yet facing criticism from all. It's more a surrender example rather than a criticism example. Can you explain? Group Dadichi asks you.
Can I take this up?
Yeah.
So, as per my knowledge, what is it is that he was criticized by his teachers that you have to stop worshipping Lord Vishnu, instead worship Hiranyakashipu, your father, because if you don't do that, we will be in trouble. So he was pressurized by his mom Kayadu also that accept what your dad is saying, listen to him, and forcefully even she was given a cup of poison to feed Prahalada. So the criticism is not much shown, but it is to be understood. So on a whole, when we understand the topic, then go into deep, Prahalada faced of criticism.
Okay.
And wherever there is criticism, we have to surrender, Lord.
Surrender to the Lord. So in other words, it's kind of connected. The whole thing is what you're saying at this point. Very nice. Can you just very briefly, talk about silently hear everyone and accept what is good and reject and forget what is not? What does that mean to you from a personal point of view?
So I think it just means that whatever advice everyone gives, you have to listen to it. You shouldn't go against it because that again seems rude. So we have to listen to all the advice given, but we should be smart enough to understand which is good and not. And we should follow only the good advice given by people and not the bad one.
True. Good point. Good point. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was very nicely done. A good example, and the PPT was also wonderful. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Call upon Group Vyasa now. Jayanis and Ananya.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Yeah, Hari Om. Can I request you to start off with a summary of your presentation?
Yeah. Hari Om, everyone. So the topic given to us was when our project is not good and we are being criticized by our parents and teachers. So we made a video on how to overcome this situation. We took 3 characters. They are Kunti, who faced the reality of the life and did not break down, and Karna, who practiced hard and is known for his bravery even today, and Panini, who worked with determination and gave us the Sanskrit grammar. All the examples tell us that take the good credits and work hard on the bad critics. So I would like to conclude with the shloka. Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma palahe turboho ma te sangostva karmani. Hari Om.
Thank you, Ananya. Very nicely done. Your examples were very good, 3 of them, but they also brought you a lot of questions. Ready? How can you give Karna's example? Did he really handle his criticism well? Group Valmiki wants to know this.
Actually, I would like to take this. Yeah, I feel it was not that good example, but in that particular situation, I feel it's a good example because he had faced many criticism situations like that, but he did take it positively. So I feel that example is apt for that situation.
Okay. So even though, he went through a very tough time, you think he kind of used it to motivate and...
Also, he did not meet one of his parents, that is Kunti, for a long time. So he faced many difficulties in his life. So I feel that example is literally very apt.
Okay. This one is
May I add on?
Sorry, yeah, please.
Yeah, so throughout his life, whatever the bad criticism he got, he worked very hard on that. He just did not leave it. So yeah, it's apt.
To become a good archer and, he kind of used it. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Got it. This is from group Gargi. And this is, the thing is, if you look at Gurudev's quote, it says some act till they meet obstacles. Others act in spite of obstacles and conquer them. But some act not, fearing the possibility of obstacles arising en route. Can you give an example for the first 2 types of people with reference to your topic? That is, people who are dropping, who basically act till they meet an obstacle. That is group 1. Then second group would be they act in spite of obstacles. Any ideas of examples of people or events that you have in mind?
For the second example, I think Karna is apt because Karna, though he got many obstacles, he did not stop anywhere. He went on conquering the things. And for the first, Kunti acted till the obstacle she got, and then she became silent from the same PPT what we have done. So Kunti she met the obstacle, she acted, but once she met the obstacle, she stopped.
I see. So Kunti and Karna is what you have in mind.
Yeah.
And I would like to add something. Like generally for combining both the things, I would like to give the example of Pani, which we had taken in our PPT also. Like he was being criticized by his guru itself. Like he doesn't have a line on his hand of knowledge. So he himself cut his hand to show that I have got the line of knowledge. So that shows the determination, although he faced so many criticisms. So I feel that's a general example for both the quotes which you have given, sir.
See, what I like is you have obviously looked back and you have studied Panini, Kunti, Karna. I was also thinking, in terms of more modern, examples, if I had to think about it. Just today, right, we had President Biden, for example, or President-elect Biden. So if I think about him, he had so many obstacles, right? He could have his, wife and child died back, in a traffic accident. He lost his second son, Beau Biden, about 5 years back. And he lost in 2 presidential elections back in 1988 and 2008. And he's 78 years old. He could have just put his feet up and said, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to do this. I'm done with my, I've contributed what I can. But despite all those obstacles, he still said, what's happening in this country is not right. I'm going to set it right. He stood for election and he got elected. So I felt, Biden becoming the president-elect is really an example of a person who strived despite the obstacles. But in the same political arena, if I think about it, China has cracked down on Hong Kong, and unfortunate, but all these young, guns in Hong Kong who were dissidents, who were protesting, etc. Now, if I see it, they have stopped. So, they acted till they met the obstacle of the China, crackdown at this point. And I can't blame them, of course, but that would be an example, I thought, a modern day example of someone who's acting till they meet obstacles at this stage, basically. My question to you is very simple, there is a saying, he takes criticism in his stride. He takes criticism in his stride. What do you understand by that? What is taking criticism in your stride? Is that something that you have heard of or you're able to relate to?
Could you elaborate on that?
So what I thought was, when you say stride, right? When you say someone is striding, there's a picture of a person walking, right? When you're walking, typically there is a goal and you're walking towards that goal, right? Now on this path towards that goal, you face different problems, right? You face criticism, you face different obstacles. So my thought was, when you say taking criticism in your stride, what I had in mind was, or what I thought you could explain really was, what does that mean, in terms of he's walking and he's able to take it in his stride. That, I just thought maybe that would be something you can talk about a little bit more. Being able to work, being able to go on your path in spite of criticisms at this stage.
Means I feel that, as you told, sir, that Joe Biden contested in an election for 2 times and he did face so many obstacles. So what I feel is that, sir, so many obstacles what he had faced in his life till now, he has overcome it, and now, as we all know, that he's almost at the verge of winning, or probably has won the elections. So I think he has seen those obstacles in a positive way, and he found a solution for each and every obstacles which he has faced, and he has surely come in his life. So 78, 80 years doesn't matter. Age really doesn't matter in this situation. That's what I think.
Okay. In other words, on his path, he has been able to take all of these things.
Yes.
Even we can take the example of Modi, our country's president. Like, once he got elected and then he brought down so many rules and then he got criticized by people. Though he did not leave his goal, he went on doing it, and now he's being praised again. Because now we know, because now we have understood why he has done that. It's for our good, and so now we are praising him, though that day he was criticized by us only.
Right. True. So let me wrap up on this segment. Can I request all of you to come online? So I want to start off with first of all, a definition of criticism. And I looked it up on Google. It says, an expression of disapproval of someone or something on the basis of perceived faults or mistakes. So there are, faults or mistakes, but it's perceived. So whenever there is perception, it can be true or not true, right? If it is true, you have to go down one path. If it is not true, you have to go down another path. Then in this case, Gurudev's first quote would apply to path number 1. Gurudev's second quote, accept what is useful for you, reject what is not useful for you. That would apply for the second one. So the perception itself can change which quote you use at this point. Now, I also, even though this was not a topic, there are 2 parts to criticism, right? There's giving criticism and taking criticism. We only talked about taking criticism, but I'm sure you're equally curious, and I'm sure you also equally do this, giving criticism at this point, right? So I thought, giving, the main idea here, there should be some principles we follow. Again, the idea of this workshop is to focus on principles, right? So what is the intention of you giving that criticism? Is it to put the other person down, or is it for their betterment? That should be in your mind, first of all, right? And how are you delivering it? First of all, what is the intent? How are you delivering it? Will it help to boost the confidence of the person, or will it help them feel bad? In other words, is it constructive criticism or is it destructive criticism? Then, before I deliver it, can I deliver it in such a way that I know that the person is going to be defensive or whatever, he's going to have destructive emotions. Can I deliver it in such a way that those destructive emotions are minimized and it becomes constructive? And finally, am I giving them specific data, right? Enough specific things to actually improve, or is it too broad? So you need to think about it technically. Am I giving the right content? How am I giving it at this point? And can I minimize negative reactions from there? So it's really it's very easy to give criticism, right? And we know that we face it all the time. But when we bring in these principles into play, we become a little more careful in how we talk at that point. We think a little bit, we take a pause, right? Many of you said that also, right? Take a pause. So giving criticism is equally important here. In the case of taking criticism, like I said, there are 2 parts. There's the, perception is correct. And the second is the criticism is not quite right. But you know what happens? Our first instinct is to defend ourselves. Number 1. Second instinct is to blame someone else. Oh, see, for example, I know this is not true, and this is a completely fictional example. But if I took up one of you and said, what happened to your presentation? Yeah, it was so bad. Yeah, why did you do such a bad job? First job will be, no, I didn't have time, something. Or he was supposed to do it, he didn't do his job. Giving this example to tell you what your first instinct is. Instinct is to defend or is to blame others. Right? Those are the two instincts that you have. And the thing is, what happens is the ego gets hurt. Whenever the ego is get hurt, right? Someone else in the other topic discussion said, you are not your thoughts, right? Similarly, you are not your ego, right? Ego is hurt and it reacts very negatively, right? And so the first instinct to do is to do all these things. So what we do, Pratipaksha Bhava, remember I talked about Pratipaksha Bhava for topic number 1. Here also it's applicable, right? The first topic is parents and teachers. Yes, they are delivering it in a manner that's hurting me, maybe, right? Hopefully it's not, but maybe. But what they are telling me is for my good. Point number 1. Pratipaksha Bhava is introducing yet another thought to kind of get you feel better about the situation, right? What they are telling me is for my own good at this point. Oh, by the way, it's good to have a different set of eyes looking at this work, because I was not seeing these mistakes myself, right? When someone else looks at it, they see it in a different way at that point, right? It forces you to defend your work many times, right? Oh, you know what? I don't think you got quite right what I was trying to do here. This is what I meant by this, right? So it forces you to defend your work. And finally, if you do get invalid criticism according to you, you can brush it off. And if people are making you feel very insecure, right? Sometimes there are people who criticize you no matter what. You would have tried your best, you would have done everything, still there is criticism. And when such people are there, you can avoid them. If it doesn't help you go up, you can avoid such cases at that point, right? And last but not least, I tell you one very useful tip to keep is, where your instinct is to defend, is to strike out in anger, etc., just change it to gratitude. They care enough about me to tell me something. I'm thankful for that. Right? Just that, see, it's better than someone just, who cares, man? He's not a useless fellow. I'm just going to not tell him anything. Right? At least someone has taken the trouble of looking at it with different eyes. They may be right or they may be wrong. That doesn't matter. They have expressed an opinion about your work. Just the fact that they care enough to express that opinion, I'm thankful for that. These ideas, these principles will help you quite a bit in dealing with criticism as well. Okay, so let's close here on this topic. Thank you very much. Now we will felicitate the children who have recently passed out of Bal Vihar, who managed many things, extracurriculars, academics, etc. And they have done very well. They have secured more than 90% in their 10th standard exams.
Hari Om. Every year during our annual Bal Vihar meet, we recognize Bal Vihar children who have done exceptionally well in their class 10 exams. Now, these children have continued attending Bal Vihar in spite of their busy study schedules, and so we would like to recognize them. Due to the present situation, all of you know that we are unable to present these mementos in person. So I shall now read out the names of these children who have scored more than 90% marks in their exams, and these were held between March and April of 2020. Okay, so first we shall go to the SSLC board. So first we have Abhay Kumar from Banashankari second stage Bal Vihar, who has scored 98.9%.
Hari Om.
Shreya Ranganath from Malleshwaram Bal Vihar Center, who has scored 96.6%.
Hari Om.
Indra Suresh from the Malleshwaram Bal Vihar Center again, who has scored 95.3%.
Hari Om.
We have Manu H from Prashant Nagar Bal Vihar, who has scored 95.2%.
Hari Om.
Vidyashri H Shetty from Jayanagar 4th T Block, who has scored 94.4%.
Hari Om.
Shivani R from Saraki village, Balvihar, 92.6%.
Hari Om.
Ananya Varnika from Banashankari second stage, Balvihar, has scored 92.2%.
Hari Om.
Aishwarya Hegde from Kengeri, Balvihar, scored 92%.
Hari Om.
Krutika NR from Sri Padakshetra, Balvihar, has scored 91.2%.
Hari Om.
Okay, now we move on to the CBSE board. We have Anjana Sudhir from Abbaya Reddy Layout, Balvihar, who has scored 97.6%.
Hari Om.
Harishri Narayanan from the Malleshwaram Center, who has scored 96.6%.
Hari Om.
R. Kartik Upadhyay from Vittal Nagar, Kumarswamy Layout, Balvihar, has scored 94.2%.
Hari Om.
Srishti Krishnamurthy from Abbaya Reddy Layout, Balvihar, again has scored 93.5%.
Hari Om.
Then we have Chinmayi Shrikanta from Sri Padakshetra, Balvihar, 93.2%.
Hari Om.
And Siddharth Tyagarajan, again from Sri Padakshetra, Balvihar, who has scored 92%.
Hari Om.
Next comes Aditi GC from RR Nagar, Balvihar, who has scored 91.2%.
Hari Om.
Janani BS from Dinabandhu Devasthanam, Balvihar, 90.8%.
Hari Om.
And Shashwat Shankar Kurur from HSR Layout Stage 1, 90.8%.
Hari Om.
We now move on to the ICSE board. Kartik Subbaram from the Malleshwaram Center has scored 98.1%.
Hari Om.
Parameshwaran Iyer from RT Nagar, Balvihar, has scored 97.9%.
Hari Om.
Akanksha Vasant from the Malleshwaram Balvihar Center has scored 97.2%.
Hari Om.
Pushpavalli R from the Sri Padakshetra, Balvihar, has scored 94.7%.
Hari Om.
And Shri Kripa EN from Koramangala, Balvihar, has scored 91.4%.
Hari Om.
So we have managed to get all the children to come on to the online and give us a thank you in the form of a Hari Om. We wish all the children a lot of success, and may Pujya Gurudev's blessings be with you all in all your endeavors. And this goes for all the children who have appeared for their 10th standard board exams last year. I know it has been a tough time, but hope you all do well in your future endeavors. Hari Om.
And then we will get started with the and the quotes from Gurudev, again, very, very relevant in modern day situations, right? And the quotes from Gurudev, again, very, very relevant in modern day situations, right? I was discussing this yesterday in my Balvihar class also. This generation is very powerful, right? You have Google at your fingertips. You can do all kinds of searches, all kinds of data, all kinds of things on your, miraculously you can provide it. But you're also one of the most, unfortunately, the most gadget oriented, most distracted set of people, because you have these gadgets that are trying to vie for your attention at all times, right? They're trying to pull you away into their secret world at that point. It may be Instagram, it may be WhatsApp, it can be all kinds of things, right? Of course, IPL matches is the idea here, but distractions are aplenty at this stage, and cell phones are not helping. So Gurudev's quotes, it's like he's speaking to us, very relevant. Let your mind be where your hands are. Point number one. Quote number one. Not to do what you feel like doing is freedom. Quote number two. Again, wonderful quotes. Last one is, man can change his destiny, not by wishing for it, but by working for it. So these three quotes are heavy duty quotes, right? I'm looking for a very, very interesting interaction. Let me call on group Markandeya, Gayatri and Prajit. And you...
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om. Let me start with a request. Please summarize your presentation in about a minute or so.
Yeah. Hari Om. We have lots of important work to complete, but are unable to complete them due to a lot of distractions such as IPL games or social media. There are many distractions that keep us from doing what we want to do versus what we have to do. Generally, all of us are inclined to our want as in, if you take an example of working hard for your exams now, when opposed to playing whatever you want or playing video games on your phone, the playing video games on your phone gives you the pleasure now. But in the long term, you don't get the job you want, or you don't succeed the way you want to. But if you work hard now and do well in your exams or any of the tests you're going for, you when you grow up, you get to be what you get to become what you want. Like, it helps you in the long term. That's Shreyas, and Preyas is what gives you immediate pleasure. It gives you pleasure at that moment, but may not help you in the long term.
Nicely put. So what is good?
Can I add on to this? So for an example,
forward, if you can come a little forward, because
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
For example, now we love eating junk food, but then we don't look at the consequences that will happen after we eat a lot of junk food. So that will become an example of prayers. Well, Shreyas is maybe we have little of junk food, and then like the consequences will not be as bad as prayers.
Understood. Nicely put, both of you. So, and this question is from group Vishwamitra. Says, what are the solutions to manage work as well as distractions? What are the solutions to manage both at this point?
Okay, so now if you want to manage work and solutions both, the thing is you have to prioritize your work. First, I will do my studies. I will do my important work now. When I get my free time, I will surely do my whatever I want to do, like in case watching television or playing video games or whatever your distraction is. So now if you prioritize your work, for now I'm doing this, so I will surely do this when I'm free. So that will be a solution if you want to manage both work as well as your distraction. Yeah, and I would like to add on to that. So I think many people would have heard of something called a time matrix. So it's basically focused on 4 quadrants of time. So quadrant 1 is important work as well as urgent work. Quadrant 2 is important but not urgent. Quadrant 3 is urgent but unimportant, and quadrant 4 is unimportant as well as not urgent. So you should totally reduce, like you should make your quadrant 4 as minimal as possible. Quadrant 4 includes TV, games, or whatever takes you away from your final goal. You should try and make sure that all your work comes to quadrant 2 before it becomes urgent. So if you prioritize your work, like Gayatri said, it's going to be really helpful for you in the long term.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to understand this generation better, right? And I keep saying Instagram, etc. But I want your opinion. What are your biggest distractions at this point? And more importantly, can you discuss a few methods that you use already to kind of avoid them at this point?
Okay, can I go with this project? You can maybe add on to this.
Yeah.
Okay, so now there are many distractions. Basically for me, TV is a distraction, and then playing is a distraction, and movies. is a distraction for me basically. So now, like, what I've started to do after learning, after doing this presentation is that I have started prioritizing my work. I put a timetable. I have this much of this. This is my free time. I will do this work only at that time. So then I will do my work like if I studying is an important work, I will do it first, and then comes my other works like Veena, music, and stuff. So now that's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you. Rajat?
Yeah, the same thing. Just prioritize your work, and the whole topic was surrounded by IPL matches. I mean, that's a huge distraction for cricket lovers in this country. And knowing, like me personally, being an RCB fan, I mean, it's over now, but there was a lot of calculations going on for RCB fans at home, and seeing whether we make it to the playoffs or not. So yeah, IPL was a great distraction, but yeah, it's over now, so I can start doing my work again. Yeah. She covered rest of the point.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Sometimes. Very true. Very true. Nicely put, both of you. So I'm going to, kind of add something to this. Maybe you can also chip in, but let me put in my comments on this. This is a question that came from group Vyasa, but I thought I'll give you my take on it, and then maybe you guys can also comment. It says, Gurudev's quote was, man can change his destiny by working for it, not wishing for it, right? But you gave an example of a king who basically, he was given the kingdom, but after 5 years, he had to go somewhere, right? And what he did was he destroyed the forest, he built his palace there, he destroyed the wildlife, etc. And group Vyasa did not like that. They said, would Gurudev have approved of such an action to take one's destiny in one's own hands, but wouldn't it have required working in a more virtuous way? Shouldn't the king have been working in a more virtuous way? So my take on it is this, and again, you can feel free to add. The main point is, I feel that of the story that you had in mind was the king did not give up, right? He worked hard, and that changed his destiny, right? Of course, if he just destroyed the forest and the wildlife and did nothing else, just built a beautiful palace for himself, that is surely bad. That's against the environment, and Gurudev would not have approved about it, right? But he had many choices. He could have shifted the trees elsewhere. He could have had the wildlife relocated, if that was possible. Or he could have built a small place for himself without impacting the forest, right? He could have still lived in the forest, but made sure that the wild animals did not consume him. So again, that would have been acceptable. So the main point I think that you were trying to convey was your destiny tomorrow is a function of the past plus your current effort, right? You put the current effort. So I think you meant the king's effort. You wanted to put it in that light, I think, right? Both of you?
Yeah, so the whole point of the story we had was that we focused more on the part where that he considered the fact that even after 5 years he was going to die, but then he made his own choice of making his own destiny by clearing the forests and all. It might not have been the right way to go about clearing the forest, killing the animals. They're right, but we focused more on how he changed his destiny by doing all that and making himself a better person. Yeah.
No, and one more thing, he cleared the forest for the people. It's not for himself. Maybe for himself he would have cleared, but he wanted more ground and more land for people and more economy. So it was all based for the people. So it had selfish motives, but then most of them were for the people.
Nice. Thank you so much. Really nicely put. All of your examples are also right on. Thank you. We'll call on group Valmiki now. Hari Om.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yeah.
Hari Om.
Shriram and Samyukta. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. So as usual, please summarize your presentation.
Yeah, I'm Sriram and I'll be summarizing on the presentation which we had given. So basically the topic which we are given in a nutshell was that how could we face, even though we had distractions, how to overcome them. So basically we had 2 skits which was done on the basis of real life situations, and then 2 photo essays which were from the Puranas. So basically in the photo essays, we had shown how Dronacharya and Arjuna's conversation was that Arjuna, even though there were many distractions like leaves, fruits and all, his main target was the eye of the bird. So which he shot rather than others. Others all were interested in the fruits, the leaves, the birds, beauty, everything. But the main focus was of Arjuna on the eye of the bird. And the next photo essay which we had was Dronacharya and his death. And here the main thing distraction was that he let his son's distraction come in a way. That means like actually it was Krishna's plan to somehow kill Drona because he was a very hard target. So what Krishna planned was to tell Bhima that his son Ashwathama had died, but Dronacharya did not believe it, and Yudhishthira, who was known as Dharmaputra, so he told that Ashwathama athak kunjaraha, which means Ashwathama, the elephant, has died, but because of Krishna's because of Krishna, they somehow he with many sounds he just abruptly did not allow Dronacharya to listen to the last words. Yet the main distraction here was that even though Dronacharya knew that his son was a Chiranjeevi, which means he's immortal, because of the distraction he forgot totally about it. So the main thing which we wanted to tell in this was, even though there are distractions, we need to move on with focus and determination. That's all.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. So, Ashtavakra had a very basic question. They are asking, see, you are saying be focused on the end, right? Be focused and do not get distracted, right? Group Ashtavakra is saying, why must we concentrate or focus on the end result? Why should we focus or concentrate on the end alone at this point?
Actually, we have to focus on our small goals first, because it's our small goals. Once we achieve them, only then it's possible to achieve our long-term goals. Because it's much easier to focus on a smaller task than something that's really huge, because we might get intimidated by the size of the task. So what I would say is focus on achieving small-term goals and then gradually build up to achieving your long-term goals.
Beautiful. Very nice, Samyukta. I think you already answered this, Sriram. How can you call Acharya Drona's worry? See, he was very worried about Ashwatthama. How can you call that a distraction? That is from group Agastya.
Yeah, I was not able to hear. Can you repeat the question again?
How can you call Acharya Drona's worry a distraction?
See, his main goal was that to somehow finish the Pandavas, or like the Kauravas' main goal was to somehow suppress the Pandavas or just to destroy them so that they can gain power. So if Dronacharya's main goal was to somehow defend them, but he let his own son's distraction. If he would have not got distracted, if he would have thought about his son who is a Chiranjeevi, he would have not got distracted and he could have fought the war. Main thing was the distraction. If he would have not got distracted, so he could have just, he could have won the war by. Yeah.
Thank you, Sriram. Thank you. One quote I really liked in your presentation. I loved your presentation, by the way, but one particular one I want to highlight that. Be like the river Ganges. When there are small rocks on her way, she flows upon them. And when there are huge obstacles, she avoids them to reach her destination. I wanted to ask you, what did you mean by this quote? Can you explain this?
We should know how to estimate the size of our distraction or obstacle, because if we know that we can easily overcome our distraction, then we should try and take it as a challenge to overcome it, even though we are distracted by it. But if it's a distraction that we know has been distracting us for a long time, and we feel like it's really tough for us to overcome, first we should, kind of just put it out of the way, and just focus on, like, you know getting to know, like, what sort of distraction it is, whether it's big or small. Because the greater the distraction it is, the tougher it is for us to overcome. So once we build up that mindset on how to overcome our distractions, then we can pose them as a challenge. So what Gurudev means to say is that the smaller rocks are like our smaller distractions that we know we can easily overcome, but the larger rocks are like our greater distractions, the bigger ones that we know have been affecting us for a long time and are tougher for us to overcome, that at this point we should just push out of our way to focus on other tasks.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now, just like I asked the other group, what were their obstacles? You're talking about huge boulders, huge obstacles on the path of Ganges. What are your huge obstacles?
As the topic given was like IPL, which was a very huge obstacle, because like most of the people in India are die-hard fans of cricket. So now, after a long time, after a long break of cricket, which was postponed just now, so each and everyone, I guess I'm a very big fan of CSK actually. So the main distraction here was because cricket doesn't take like small other games like some half an hour or something. It extends up to 3 to 4 hours. So if we, like the previous group told, if we divide our time into 4 quadrants, we need to first prioritize before the IPL starts. We should finish our works, and then during that time we could just watch the IPL or something.
Right.
So that would be better.
Yeah. You want to add anything, Samyukta?
Yeah, for me, greater distractions are things like YouTube apps, like that you can spend hours together watching. Because, like, when we have something to do, especially for me, like homework or school related projects, your mind either is trying to gain pleasure or is trying to avoid pain. And the mind tries to avoid pain harder than it tries to gain pleasure. So in that split second where we have to decide between, doing the task at hand, our mind also presents us with a different decision. We can also choose to spend hours watching something that will prevent us from feeling the pain that our mind thinks we feel when we do tasks like homework or something we're afraid of doing.
Right.
So even if it's something we don't enjoy to do all that much, it becomes a really big distraction, as it becomes just a way for our brain to avoid the task at hand.
True. Very true. Very true. Thank you so much. Very nice talking to both of you. Hari Om. I call upon group Brihaspati now, Jayani and Lakshmi. Yeah. So could you please summarize your presentation?
Yeah. So, Hari Om, I'm Jayani from group Brihaspati, and today I'll just tell a few points about my presentation. First of all, starting with our situation. Our situation was like you have a school science project but are unable to complete it due to IPL matches. So we have taken few stories from ancient times. That is first of all Brahma and Tilotama story, where two asuras Sunda and Upasunda were distracted. They forgot about their boon and started fighting with each other. And the second story, which was Arjuna and the eye of the bird, where Arjuna had total concentration on his goal, and did not get distracted unlike others. And here we get two morals. Like first one, we.
So, like in the first story of Arjuna and the eye of the bird, the moral is that Arjuna, he ignores all the distractions and his attention on the goal is more compared to the other people. And in the moral that we get from the second story of the Brahma and Tilottama story is that Sunda and Upasunda, they just got distracted, they forgot about their boon, and which only led to their death.
I see. Very nice. I really see your presentation was one where people should look at it very closely, because so many tips that you have, right? You have written so many slides, you have given so much information. I found it extremely useful. But of course, Group Valmiki asks you, if I am determined, would I never be distracted?
So it obviously depends on how big your distraction is. Obviously, determination does help you. Try to ignore the distraction. It's important. The more important thing is that you have control of your mind, and you don't listen to it. Sometimes it misleads you. So you listen to your intellect and not your mind. So if that's there, then yeah, it's enough.
Nice. You want to add anything, Jayani?
Yeah, so nothing much.
Nothing much. I can ask you we can move on to the next question then from Group Anasuya. And this is also a nice one. They ask, are distractions an excuse for one's lack of interest and commitment in the activity that's being taken up? It's just an excuse.
Can you just repeat the question, Uncle?
Are distractions an excuse for one's lack of interest in an activity?
Yeah. So, though we have lack of interest, we should try bringing interest to that activity because it's an important task. So, if we bring interest in that activity, though we don't have interest, we somehow be able to manage to finish the task.
Otherwise, you keep focusing on the distractions, is it? That's what happens. I see.
Yeah, sometimes distractions, they may be things that are caused by someone else, or they may be caused by your own self. Like you choose distractions as an excuse for not completing your goal. Make sure that whatever distraction it is, you should try to control it. If it is above your control, then obviously you have to ignore it, or else try to eliminate it.
Right. So I really liked your saying, right? You said replace DI with DE, right? That was one of your quotes. Can you explain that a little bit more? What exactly did you mean by that? Any one of you?
It's like replace DI means distraction with DE, which is determination. So you have many distractions and you have to like replace it with determination, means bring interest towards it.
Okay. Yeah. You want to add anything?
Yeah, so you should just increase your determination towards your goal and make sure that your distractions don't affect you.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Can I ask everyone to come on screen? All of the people involved with this topic. See, I don't know if you've heard this leaking pot story, no? Basically, there was a youngster, it seems. He went to a Swamiji. He said, "Oh, Swamiji, I'm, I really need help from you. I'm completely distracted all the time. I don't know what to do. You have to help me." And the Swamiji gave him a pot. And he said, "Go fill this pot." And the man looked at it and said, "No, Swamiji, I can't fill this pot with water. It's got too many holes in it, right? The moment I put water in it, it's going to go, the water is going to fall away." And then the Swami tells him, the pot of our mind is also like that. If you have too many holes in your mind, right, means what? You get distractions, you leak the energy away from the mind, you're impossible to get anything done, right? Impossible to fill the water in the pot. So he tried to convince him, keep the energy, right? Conserve energy, don't get distracted, right? So that is our first principle. Remember, a distraction is basically an energy leak, right? It's taking energy away from your system, right? So you need to conserve energy to be able to do the important things, right? So obviously, all of you mentioned this, prioritization, making a schedule. For some people, I think someone else in the other group also said they have started making schedules, right? A to-do list. That helps a lot. Every day you make a to-do list and say, these are the things I want to achieve today, right? Then keeping gadgets, of course, gadgets are so attractive, right? They are helping you, they're giving you a lot of information, but you keep a time for them. If possible, keep them with you only during specific times. I don't know if you guys watched this Netflix video where, they actually show they're trying to grab all these gadgets. Their whole principle is trying to grab your time away from towards themselves, right? So they're all energy sinks. They're all trying to put, attract you into their domain at that point. So by keeping them away, at least for specific times of the day, you're helping yourself that way. Of course, keeping your workspace organized, and what Samyukta said, breaking big tasks into smaller ones, finishing them one at a time, I think that helps a lot as well. So really, there are lots of different ideas for increasing concentration. As far as working hard, see, Gurudev was a living example of working hard, right? You've all heard the story. You've seen the movies, right? He used to sleep at 11 o'clock, get up at 4 o'clock, right? He slept for 5 hours a day, and his day was non-stop, right? Right from 4 in the morning till 11, he was busy with various activities, working hard, waking up early, dealing with the more important tasks first. When your energy is complete, you deal with the important tasks in the morning, taking care of yourself physically and mentally, keeping yourself healthy, making deadlines, trying to stick to them, because especially projects, right? When you say, oh, my project is due 3 weeks from now, you end up doing it on the night before, right? You keep procrastinating and wasting time. So making deadlines, saying by this weekend, I should have finished so much. Next week, I should have finished so much. So this planning process helps a lot in this whole concentration bit. Mindfulness, right? Keeping your mind where your hands are. Gurudev again spoke a lot about it. And really the idea there is be conscious of your thoughts. What ends up happening is we do a lot of things unconsciously or subconsciously, right? We don't, because like Samyukta said again, attached to pleasure, we want to move away from pain. Automatically the mind has registered, yes, this is pleasurable. Yes, this is painful. Even without you thinking about it, you start going into those modes of behavior, right? So being conscious of your habits, being conscious of your thoughts, mindfulness, focusing on the present at that point, just focusing on what am I doing? Even simple things like, see, today what happens now when we're eating food, we'll be watching TV or we'll be watching a phone or we'll be doing something, chatting something. Mindfulness could simply be as simple as focus on eating. If I'm eating, I only focus on that. I do not have 15 different things coming into my mind at once at that point. And last but not least, I'm a big believer of breathing, right? Focus on your breathing, right? Just air going in, coming out. Just the fact that you have taken your mind away from your distraction and you're focusing on something else, that itself reduces the distraction at that point. So these are all some techniques, some principles you can follow to get better at this, right? Again, it's difficult. And today's world in particular, it's difficult. But the more you're able to adopt these principles, and in fact, one of your presentations, I think the last presentation, we are the most distracted set in society at this point. You made that statement. And I completely agree with that. So mindfulness, working hard, increasing concentration, these are principles we have to adopt to deal with this at this point. Hari Om. Thank you. Okay. Last topic. Thank you, Hari Om. Last topic, jealousy. We are coming to a very interesting topic, right? Samarth, I'll ask you to unmute. Just give me 1 minute. I'll ask you to become live in a minute. The situation is, your friends keep getting new gadgets. You are very jealous as a result. You get angry with them for small things. Now again, the task is identify the principles you can use to feel better and identify a character from the Puranas who went through this. Gurudev, of course, has his wonderful quotes. Do not put the key to your happiness in someone else's pocket. That's a very wonderful quote. A lot of people have talked about that quote. The second one is also very important. Introspect daily, detect diligently, negate ruthlessly. IDN. Introspect, detect, negate, and substitute. IDNS. Right? And last but not least, the quote that we wanted you to look at was, the fewer one's possessions, the greater are one's enjoyment and freedom. Now I call upon group Atri, Samarth, who's already visible, and Jahnavi. Could you please summarize your presentation? I want to see Jahnavi. There you are. Yeah, please summarize your presentation.
Hari Om, my name is Jahnavi and I'm going to summarize my team's presentation about jealousy. Now, we have mentioned that there's a friend who is totally jealous of his friend who is getting many gadgets. His friend is bored of getting gadgets, but this guy is totally into, like, really, really jealous that he never got any gadgets which are very interesting. So now we have mentioned some quotes from Gurudev and also how to overcome it. And I have a small suggestion that why not try to use your imagination? Why not make your own gadget? You'll have many stuff left at home, like the stuff which you buy, etc. You can use your imagination. You can use your knowledge, etc., to make one yourself, which will help you in both the ways, one knowledge to enjoyment. So, and also we have took a verse from Bhagavad Gita which explains jealousy and what it is. It also explains vasanas, etc. So this is what we wanted to tell about jealousy in our thing. And we also mentioned many facts about jealousy, that how you should overcome jealousy, what is the fact, what will it occur, like what will it cause to your life or your physical appearance, mental, brain, etc.
Very nice, very nice. So the questions, in fact, the tips that you mentioned, one of them was just be honest about it, right? Acknowledge the emotion, and you say half the problem goes away when you are aware of it, right? And Group Dadichi has a question exactly on that point. How does accepting jealousy help get rid of it? Can you clarify?
Whenever we have jealousy, we have to accept it and we have to use the principles and we have to prevent that jealousy. So prevention is better than curing it.
Preventing is better than curing it. I see. You want to add anything, Janhavi?
Yes, so you want to, like, when you are honest that you're jealous, people will understand and leave you, like, just like they won't criticize you or do anything. You be honest that you're jealous and you say that, yes, I want this gadget, I would like to have a look. Why not just borrow it from your friend for some specific time? Small solution, if they agree.
Yeah. Group Brihaspati, see, you brought in, like you mentioned, you brought in a Gita verse and you say actions, basically what prevents us from taking up karma yoga are our vasanas, and these are actions prompted that they are expressed as negative emotions such as jealousy, etc. Group Brihaspati has a very simple question. What are vasanas? Can you explain?
I think Samarth is taking this question.
Samarth, you want to talk about it? What are vasanas? If you don't know the answer right away, no problem, no issues.
The vasanas is like, I will explain. Vasanas comes under
your
actions.
Your video has gone off, Janhavi. Your video has gone off. Can you come online again? Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So your vasanas means your actions, footprints of the past, or like the actions that are left up on the personalities, etc. And also the condition is like these are impressions from the past, provide the conditioning for our present thoughts by giving them specific texture, quality, and fragrance. So the vasanas erupt through stuff like very similar thoughts, and which create them flowing out from us, prompt for our endless activities.
Okay.
So it's like they prompt desire, intellect, throughout thoughts in mind level and actions in physical level.
Okay. You're again, I don't know, there's a visibility problem. You need to come online again, Janhavi. Samarth, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I want to add. But how is vasanas are created by each one of us when we act? An impression of is formed in us. Actions, when we do it with selfish motives, create the vasanas. And all the desires, they turn into all the desires in turn all our actions are prompted because of our vasanas or tendencies.
Okay. One question I had, and it was really nicely put. You said, I think in one of your descriptions, you said basically there's a fight between devas and asuras that is happening in your mind. What did you mean by that? What was the symbolism of that deva and asura fight?
Devas represent all the good qualities and asuras represent all the bad qualities. So when both fight, when devas and asuras bad qualities and good qualities fight, good qualities should be more, and good qualities like jealousy, anger, they should be less, and they should be eliminated, prevented.
Okay. Thank you, both of you. Really enjoyed this interaction. It was a nicely done presentation. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari
We'll
Om.
move on to group Vishwamitra. I call upon Karthik and Amrita. Yeah. Can you please summarize your presentation?
Yes, sir. Hari Om. Our topic is your friends keep getting new gadgets and you're very jealous of it. As a result, you get angry with them for small things. In our video, we have explained what is jealousy. Jealousy is a feeling or showing of an bitterness at someone else's possessions, qualities, or lack. Next, we have explained about the consequences of jealousy, which includes anger and lack of concentration. Later, we have narrated a story wherein Narada Muni had overcome his jealousy on Tumbaru and had also become successful at pleasing the Lord. Moving on, we have explained some quotes related with jealousy. Finally, we have explained some methods to prevent jealousy, and adding to that, we have also explained some methods to overcome it.
Very nice. Very nice. So you had a lot of data in your presentation. That was very nicely, collected very nicely. And you also had this whole, Narada and Tumbaru story. So there was a question from group Sandeepani, and this is an interesting question. Do we need to compare ourselves with someone better than us? What if we need to compare ourselves with how we have progressed from the past? Like, should we be comparing with others or should we be comparing with ourselves from the past?
Sir, comparing itself is a negative one. You don't need to compare yourself if you know who you are, because everyone has his or her own talent. So there's a quote by Tim Notke: hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. So if you do hard work, then you can beat your talent and go up. There's no need to compare the past or any others. If you do hard work, you can achieve anything that's impossible. You think impossible.
Okay, nicely put, Amrita. Group Yajnavalkya had a question about your Tumburu story. In Tumburu story, basically, you said he first went and sang. It did not move Vishnu. And then he went and learned, he was very jealous. He went and learned from Tumburu and all that. Group Yajnavalkya is asking, how did Narada overcome his jealousy? The method was not clear.
Actually, in the story, Narada first gets jealous of Tumbaru. Then he practices and he could not sing very nicely in front of Vishnu. Again, he goes to Shiva to grant. He wants a boon from Shiva. So Shiva gives a boon so that he sings nicely. Though he gives a boon, Vishnu was not very happy with the singing. Again, out of jealousy, he thought he practiced for thousands of years, but also he could not do it right. So he thought beyond jealousy. Means first he got to know that he was jealous of Tumbaru, so he was doing all these things. So after that, he thought beyond jealousy that if Tumbaru has sung very nicely in front of Vishnu and Tumbaru has impressed, so he's the only one who can teach Narada to sing like that, right? So he went to Tumbaru and thought Tumbaru thought singing for Narada.
Very nice, Amrita. So basically, the way I see the story is, it's really following Gurudev's quote, right? Narada introspected, right? He realized that he was feeling, he detected that he was feeling jealousy for Tumburu. And how did he negate that jealousy? He decided, I will become the Shishya of Tumburu, right? So that introspection, detection, and negation, right, really worked in that scenario. And that's how Vishnu, when Narada learned from Tumburu and went back to sing to Vishnu, Vishnu gladly accepted him at that point, right? So nicely put. The learning from others to improve. One of the points that I saw in your presentation was you can learn from others to improve yourself. So I wanted to ask you, name a few things or anything that you have learned from others during this workshop. What has something, that you have really kind of gotten from other people that you have really learned at this point? Any thoughts? If not, you can say, no, I haven't learned anything, no problem.
No, taking good things from people is very good, because we have to leave our bad things and take good things from good people. It may be anyone. Take good things from them, no matter
Right.
what.
So give me examples. Putting you on the spot, huh? Okay, let me ask you, think about it, come back to this question. Making a list of your flaws and your strengths. This was also another point that you made. Right? Make a list of your flaws and your strengths. And my question is, why should we do this? How does it help us to make a list of flaws and strengths?
So when we know what we are good at, and others are not, so everyone have different talents, and it might not be that you have this others what others have, you might not have it. So when you realize what you have, it will help you feel happy, because when you're everyone are not good at everything. So when you are good at something, that also makes you feel happy. So that's what we have to know ourselves and accept ourselves as who we are and not who we should or should not be.
So basically making a list kind of helps you become aware of yourself at that point. Okay, cool.
And even you can strengthen your weaknesses there.
Right. Good. You guys stay online. I'm going to take a topic which came from Group Valmiki. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but I would like your perspective also on it, okay? Group Valmiki asks, sometimes our feeling of a little jealousy can make us work positively to achieve something. Is this okay? They're asking, is a little jealousy okay at this point? And let me give you my perspective, and I want to see what your thoughts are. Right? Yes, jealousy can be a motivation. Right? Yes, it will most likely make you work harder. Right? Those two things are there, and they look very positive. Motivation, and it will make you work harder. But it's a very dangerous slope. Remember, even if you work hard, the result may not be achieved. You may not get that result, right? So you'll still get frustrated at that point. And let's say you work hard, you do achieve something, but you'll still be comparing with that other person, right? That comparison is going to keep happening. And like Amrita said, comparison is not great, right? Because again, two things are possible. That person may have not done as well, in which case you put him down and you feel happy. Or even though you tried hard and you did better, that person may have done even better. And then again, you're frustrated. So basically, right, it's like this. Very simple. Do you want to control your mind, or do you let your mind control you? When you say, is a little jealousy okay? What you're basically saying is jealousy, anger, greed, desire, pride, ego, all of these are negative, right? Once they sink their claws into you, they get control of you. They are controlling you. You're not in control of them, right? You're no longer in control of your mind. You're no longer in control of your personality. So yes, it gives motivation. Yes, you do work harder. But remember, it's a very, very dangerous thing. You do not want to operate on that principle, because you no longer are in control. It is controlling you. Jealousy is controlling you, right? The green dragon of envy is driving your motivations, is driving your actions, and that is not something that you want to go towards. So this is my answer. It was asked by Group Valmiki to your group actually, but I thought I'll just give you my perspective. If any of you want to add anything, please do.
Yeah, just motivation. Yes, it may come from jealousy, no doubt. But instead of jealousy, see, motivation can be through a big person, whoever is famous in a nation, in a world, whoever it may be, or even your classmate whom you know personally. You can he or she can be your motivation. So example I'll give. So your friend is see, you are the second rank student in your class, and your friend is the first rank student. See, instead of being jealous of the your friend, I think you can get motivated by her, learn things from her, and instead of pulling her down and you going forward, you just beat her. Means see, when you have a person in front of you, don't try to pull them from their place. Means telling negative thoughts to them pulls them from their place, right? Don't do that. Don't pull someone from them from that place. Instead of that, you beat that place and go one step forward. That time you'll be first. Instead of that, you pulling them and you from the second you jump to first, it's not fair. And jealousy may help sometimes, but not always, and not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Karthik, you have anything to add?
Yeah, like it is good until we are in control of it, but not unless it takes over us.
Right. It can easily overpower us, is what you're saying. Very nice. Thank you, both of you, Karthik and Amrita. Hari Om. Call upon group Anasuya. I believe the last group, Vishnumaya and Harshita. Please summarize your presentation.
Hello. So, as the topic given to us was something that everyone would face in their day-to-day life, we decided to put in optimum effort to emphasize the minor but prime moral to all. As the group possessed a lot of different opinions and ideas, the video starts off with some music, as music is believed to speak where the words fail. Moving forward, the video manifests the opinion about each and every group member on the topic. The video conveys the message of how bad jealousy can be and how one can overcome it. Our group mainly focused on some stories from the Puranas like Duryodhan's jealousy over the Pandavas and Narada's jealousy over Tambaru. And examples using this same, we managed to pass on the technique to overcome and avoid jealousy. And lastly, I would like to say that our hearts are too valuable to allow hatred and jealousy to rent a spot. So let's focus on what we have and enjoy it while it lasts.
Thank you. That was short and sweet, Vishnumaya. So the feedback was wonderful. Group Sandhi. By the way, I loved your song, right? Asuya. The start itself was very interesting. Who thought of that? Who came up with that idea?
Me and one of our group members, but the mentor gave us the idea of putting a song in so it would be unique.
I see. It was wonderfully done. And Group Sandeepani agrees. They say, we loved your presentation. But they also have a question. They ask a different way. If someone is envious of us and we know it, how do we handle it?
I'll go about it. If someone is envious of us and like we're aware of it, you should try and support that person. Like it depends. Like you told, jealousy in itself is a very big thing. Too much of anything is bad. So you should see how envious that person is of you. If it's like a little minute thing, maybe you can approach that person and tell them your opinion. Tell them that it's not good being envious, or support them and tell them how to overcome it, or help them in the part where they're jealous. And if they're jealous because of something that you own, then you maybe need to tell them that maybe we need it, but then it's not as necessity as it is for you. It may not be your need, it may be your want. So you can make that person realize if it's because of something you own or if it's some other aspect.
Okay, thank you. Group Sandeepani again, right? They were very active with your group. If we are jealous of someone, what does it say about us?
Hashita, you want to go?
Yeah. About us, like it will tell that we think they are more superior than us. Like we should try to be content with what we have so that we don't feel jealous and think they are more superior than us. Yeah.
Okay. From group, Vishwamitra also had a different question. And I think it's related to one of your points, right, that you had made. Like, if I go back in my notes here, hold on 1 second. You said something about lack of trust. You said, in life, lack of trust, what does jealousy do? It makes it hard to accept many things about life and your partner. And group, Vishwamitra says, why is jealousy connected to lack of trust?
Okay, so by lack of trust, it means lack of trust in yourself too. So if you're jealous about someone else, you may not trust your feelings or you may not trust what you have, and it can bring you down. Like, for example, someone tells you that you're good at this, but then you're jealous of someone else who's better at it than you. So you don't trust your own talent, but then you try to get jealous or be disappointed about something or someone who's better than you in it. So you forget to accept the fact and focus on yourself and lose trust in yourself, which again leads to something more bad than jealousy.
You want to add anything, Harshita?
No.
Okay. So let me call on all the groups to come back online. So the final summary for this particular topic, see, these are my thoughts on it, right? The starting point is really the mind, right? This particular topic, jealousy is a characteristic of the mind, right? It's basically a thought process. Now, first of all, what is mind? It's a flow of thoughts, right? So you have two types of thoughts, many types of thoughts, but really let's characterize two. One is uncontrolled thoughts. You think of a pravaha, right? A flood of water down the riverbank, right? Going down the river. Right? That's one kind of flow. The other one is gentle and controlled flow at this point. Right? What happens in the case of the six, in the Bhagavatam, these are referred to as 6 sharks. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. One of you also talked about it in your presentations, right? Now, these are all sharks. They are waiting in your mind to take you away from your focus. They want to take you away from your path. They are like sharks who are waiting in the, you fall off from the boat, the shark gets you, right? Similarly, these are sharks in your mind waiting to get you. Right? And Matsarya in particular is very insidious, right? Because it's connected with others, right? When you're jealous of others, what happens is you have unfulfilled karma, right? You are desirous of what they process. And when that karma is unfulfilled, it leads to krodha. And finally, moha, delusion, right? You place a false value on possessions rather than relationships, right? See, there is a saying, love people and use objects. Use objects and love people. With jealousy, what happens is it becomes ulta. We love objects and we use people, right? So again, we talked about Shreyas, Prayas, we talked about spiritualistic versus materialistic. All of these are falling in that category, but jealousy in particular changes your perspective. It gives you this delusion finally. You're trying to get hold of that object or that position and you're actually using people and you're losing your relationships in the process at this point, right? So the Pratipaksha Bhava should simply be, oh, I don't need too many possessions, right? Oh, he has, fine, he has so many gadgets, wonderful, great for him. But I have enough gadgets, I have enough challenges posed by what I have at this point. I'm completely happy with what I have. You may have read this. You may have seen this saying, right? I was unhappy with my shoes till I saw a person with no legs. Means what? Think about the people who have nothing. I have an iPhone 10 and I'm thinking, oh, usko iPhone 12 aa gaya. I mean, he has iPhone 12. It's so great. You think about a person who does not have a phone or who has this kutti phone, right? So again, Pratipaksha Bhava, you need to constantly monitor your mind. The idea here is you have to be in charge of your mind rather than letting the mind control you. The moment you let your mind control you and it's uncontrolled, right? So it takes you in many which way. It takes you on its merry path. Oh yeah, he has too many things. Oh, I'm so unhappy. Oh, my parents are not able to get me anything. It takes you down a silly path and you cannot control it anymore, right? So control, basically introspection, identification, detection, and negation. Filling your mind with love for the world, filling your mind with admiration for people, right? These are some thoughts. Remember, once you identify and detect, it's not sufficient to just do that, right? You need to negate and substitute. Substitution can be things like admiration. Oh, he has worked so hard for his success. He deserves it, right? That's admiration. It's not a thought, oh, he got more than me. That's comparison. That you don't want. Just thoughts of admiration. Fill your thoughts with love for the person. Oh, and maybe compassion. Oh, he really has had a tough time this year, right? He needs this success. Again, these are ways to tell your mind, do not be jealous at this point. So this is what I wanted to convey on this particular topic, right? Jealousy is a very interesting topic. I hope all of these principles are in mind. So as a final roundup, right? So now we have covered 5 major topics, right? So let me just put my thoughts again around them. You guys can go, maybe all of you can come online. I don't know, maybe the bandwidth won't be sufficient. The final roundup is all of us, each and every one of us is a mixture of 3 sets of gunas, 3 sets of qualities, right? Tamas, Rajas, Sattva. Tamas is simply inertia, laziness. Rajas is action, doing things. Sattva is purity or goodness, right? Tamas by itself, pure laziness. It's like Kumbhakarna, no? Sleeping for 6 months of the year, no problem. He's not harming others at that point. It is, of course, he's ignorant, he's inertia, he's lazy, but he's not harming. Where it gets hard or where it gets difficult is when tamas mixes in with some rajas, right? When you have that quality, you cannot avoid rajas, right? It's always there. Some passion, some activity is always there. But tamas with rajas is dangerous. It manifests itself in various ways, right? The extreme form, which is called rajasic tamas, right? That is basically cruelty, degradation, deprivation, all kinds of things, right? Extreme, that is rajasic tamas. The other form of this thing is tamasic rajas, right? Jealousy, greed, high passions, etc. We talked about those. Now, sattva incorporated with rajas is what we need to evolve to. We really want to go there at this point. Of course, sattvic rajas is where you're able to concentrate well, you're working hard, etc. You're using ethics, you're ethical. And rajasic sattva is basically you have principles like ahimsa, satya, brahmacharya, all of these incorporated into your daily life. So our whole process of moving here is from a state of tamas towards a state of sattva. And that whole process is called sadhana. Sadhana, various forms of sadhana. You can do prayer, right? Tera tujko arpan, right? When we are mere custodians. Oh Lord, whatever you have given us in this world, we are just custodians. We surrender to you. Karma yoga, we talked about arpana bhava, doing your best, fulfilling the potential that is in you. Prasada bhava, accepting the result, that as Lord's prasada at that point. Satsanga, keeping the company of the good, right? At both physical level, you associate with good people, with the wise people, with the people who can give you good advice. That's at the physical level. But also at the mental level, we keep satsanga with our good thoughts at that point. Someone talked about devas, asuras. Devas are the good thoughts, asuras are the bad thoughts. Satsanga is favoring the devas. You are in control of your mind. You can control your thoughts at that point, right? So this whole process of achieving mind control through IDNS, keep that, IDNS. Introspection, detection, negation, substitution. These 4 techniques are very valuable principles in moving through life. So let's look at the Gita verse again, right? We talked about 3 situations. Equanimity in situations, 3 relationships. Equanimity in situations, love for people, and control of the mind. All of these finally, when we really follow them, right? Each of these statements reaffirm the same thing. We are all from one source. We are all children of one God. This entire universe is a manifestation of a single source called Brahman. Man identifies, when he is identified with his limited BMI, with his limited ego, he is of course faced with various situations, various experiences. Many of them are negative. Many of them puts him through the cycle of jealousy, lack of concentration. It puts him through that whole thing as long as he is associated with this body, mind, intellect, ego. The moment the man is able to go above that, he's able to identify with the Lord, with Brahman. He's able to then get equanimity in situations. He's automatically going to have love for all beings because they're all from the same source. And finally, he's able to control his mind and his senses. So that particular verse says, you finally attain me after going through all these relationships in life, as long as you practice these principles. So this is all what this workshop was trying to do by giving you various situations and enabling you to discuss them, and especially in today's finale, to come out and actually talk about them in detail. The idea here is we identify with the underlying principle of all of them. As long as we can get there, and it's a process, mind you. It's not an automatic, you put a switch and you get the light. It's a process, a continual, gradual process called sadhana, where we are trying to move from a tamasic state towards a sattvic state. And as long as we can continue that sadhana progressively, we are in the right track. So let's all take a sankalpa that we will continue our sadhana, continue on this evolutionary path, and we will really improve ourselves from a individual point of view at this point. Right? So now let us listen. So this is all the workshop is. It's closed now. Let us now listen to the feedback from the workshop. You have all provided your feedback. Not only you, some of the mentors who were associated with your groups have also provided the feedback. And so that particular feedback in the form of a collage will be presented now. Hari Om.
Hari Om. So we have now seen the video presentations of the workshop. We have also witnessed the interactive finale of this workshop, and we also saw some of the experiences shared by some mentors and also some participants of the workshop. So this brings us to the completion of the workshop. The workshop may end, but we all know, right, that learning never ends. In this workshop, there have been many takeaways for all of us, whether it has been us, the organizers, the mentors, or the children. There has been plenty of takeaways from this workshop. The children actually were shaken out of their comfort zone, and they had to communicate and deal with a set of people completely new to them, completely unfamiliar to them. And added to that was the fact that they were interacting across the screen, not physically. So it was indeed a challenge. Also, they had to spare a good deal of their free time for this workshop and stay committed to the workshop throughout. And in this context, they might have felt some kind of resistance even within themselves. However, for those who took up this opportunity, there was an immense amount of learning that they had, and they have indeed come out mentally stronger and wiser to deal with all the things that they will face in future. So we all know, right, after all, that stone didn't simply magically turn into an idol, nor did that bamboo twig just like that magically turn into a beautiful flute. So, well, when it comes to such workshops and such activities and events, The inspiration is always by the grace of the Guru. We offer our sincere gratitude and pranams, heartfelt gratitude at the holy feet of Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayanand Ji. And all the Balvihar activities in Bengaluru are blessed and guided by our very own Puja Swami Brahmanand Ji. Our sincere pranams and heartfelt gratitude to Swamiji for giving us this opportunity to conduct this workshop. We had a core team of Balvihar Sevaks who put their thoughts together and came up with plenty of topics, of which they finalized 5 topics, and they also brought out modules and designed the workshop and as to how it would be executed too. So we offer our sincere thanks to this core creative team that has contributed in a very valuable way for the entire duration of this workshop. We had a set of 15 mentors, one mentor guiding each group, and these mentors had to carve out time from their busy schedules, whether it was work schedule or work at home or with their own children. They had to take out time to schedule meetings for this workshop, get the kids together, ensure that they were on track and on time. So a lot of hard work has gone in from the mentor's side, and a heartfelt and sincere thanks to this entire team of 15 mentors. They also had to communicate repeatedly with children and even parents whenever needed. So it was a big learning, a challenge and an enjoyable journey for them too through this workshop. And without them, this workshop may not have been as efficient as it has been. So our heartfelt thanks to this set of 15 mentors. This workshop would not have happened if not for those for whom it was meant for. And yes, I'm talking of the children, the participants. And it is important for us to acknowledge and recognize the support that the parents and the other family members of the participants would have given. And yes, thank you, dear children and parents. The moderator of today's event, Shiva, has been with us from scratch to completion. So thank you, Shiva, for being with us as part of that core creative team, for sharing your knowledge, and you were also instrumental in bringing this live streaming so efficiently along with all the embellishments to us in the comforts of our homes. Thank you, Pavitra, Anirudh, Nitish and Karthik. We hope the situation will return to some kind of normalcy and we will meet together physically for the next workshop. Well, in case we need to do it virtually, we have a chance to improve upon this effort. Either way, we hope to see many more children in senior Balvihar across Bengaluru signing up for such workshops and reaping the joys and benefits. Let us all pray now to the Almighty for the good of all through the Shanti Patha and offer our promises through the pledge. Hari Om.
Now we will have Shanti Pat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Now we will take the pledge. We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace to keep us on the path of virtue, courage and wisdom. May Thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibilities. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat. Thank you all. Hari Om.